Alrighty, y'all. The time has come. Catfish Camaro is inside, and we are going to start taking parts off of this to prep for the build. So, if you guys haven't been following this one, which I haven't posted a lot about it, but we did take it to a car show, and I kind of showed you some of the parts. This whole thing's going to come apart in the next couple of months. So, we've got lots and lots of boxes up here from UMI and BMR and QA1 and Fast Specialties and Texas Speed and oh lordy. So there's some of it, and then we got a whole shelf over here with some more of it. So it's getting C7 brakes, 6 piston calipers in the front, 4 piston calipers in the rear, 102 millimeter throttle body, fast fuel rails, CNC ported cylinder heads, 2.5 Texas Speed and Performance top end package, Tsunami V2 cam, McLeod twin disc clutch, QA1 coilovers and sway bars, adjustable timing. We got lots of stuff going on. So once we get all of that kind of stuff sorted, it's going to get a Watts link in the rear to replace this panhard bar. So the panhard system will go away, and we'll put a Watts link in with the new torque arm and control arms and coilovers and all that stuff. When we get done with that and kind of get this thing back on the ground, it's going to get full body and paint. It's going to go back silver. We are going to do some either decal or graphic work on the car to mimic what's on there from the factory, but I don't think we're going to do factory stuff. Some of this is going to be to be determined as we're going through it. We're starting with mechanical, and then we'll do body and paint as mechanical starts to come together. So right now the current plan is to get some of this underside stuff busted loose, and we're kind of taking a look at things and blasting stuff. So we're going to pull the K-member, engine, transmission all in one unit so that we can disassemble this engine and check the bottom end and make sure that the bottom end doesn't need to be sent out to the machine shop. As soon as we can answer whether the motor needs to go to the machine shop or not, we'll be able to put together a pretty concrete timeline of when we're gonna, how fast we're gonna run through each phase of this. So it's gonna be engine compartment, front suspension, rear suspension, and then it's getting weld-on subframe connectors and tubular transmission support and driveline hoop and all the good stuff. So once all that stuff's all done, then we get going on body and paint. So we're gonna bust stuff loose today: exhaust, sway bar, wiring, kind of look at the ABS system and that kind of thing, and try and get as much of this stuff kind of loosened up, and then we'll set it down. And there's a lot of stuff on the top end of it, accessories and whatnot, that need to come apart as well. So we'll start kind of tackling on that. We're going to drop the K-member and the engine out first, answer the machine shop question, and then we'll be able to start doing the rest of this stuff. So there's the Catfish Camaro update. There should be more pictures and videos coming on this one here pretty soon. We kicked out a couple of jobs this last week that we've been working on, so now we got some more space to work with. So anyway, appreciate you guys. Hope you have a happy Thanksgiving, good turkey day. Gobble gobble, gobble gobble gobble, and we'll see you next week. Take care, guys. Well, we picked up some parts yesterday. Some brake parts. What do we got in here? We got one of those in here. How about we put one of these in there? Oh shit. And we are just about ready to drop this K-member now. So we got everybody leaving and clients and whatnot saying bye. So sorry about the noise, but anyway, we're about ready to drop this K-member. Sorry about that. So anyway, we got just about everything loose under here, and we're about ready to drop this engine, transmission, and K-member out of the Camaro. So it's all loosened up. All of our hardware fittings and lines and wires are all disconnected. We've got to set it back down on the ground tomorrow, put some pressure on this rear axle and get the torque arm out. The torque arm's bound up with the suspension sagging like it is. So we're going to get the torque arm out and get the drive shaft out of it, and there's just a couple more things to disconnect on the top end, and we should be able to get this motor and tranny put on a pallet and down on the ground here in the next day or so. Once that thing comes apart, then we'll put the engine up on the stand and we'll start going through the motor. Okay, hold it. Okay. You ready, Keith? Go ahead. All right. Come on up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yep.
Okay. Still okay?
Yep.
Okay.
How sweet is that?
Still okay?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. We're better. Car feel okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Amazing.
Yeah, it feels fine.
All right.
Yeah, she's fine.
Yep.
Just don't go crazy with it.
How about that? Hey. Brother.
That is so cool. I've never seen that done before like that. That is cool.
head. They're so little. Alright, we got a light handy. Yeah, I got one right here on the table. Alright, so there's a whole table full of bits. And on the fuel injectors look really good, but she's definitely been burning quite a bit of oil in her life. Let's go take a look. I got good cross hatching. See how much oil it was burning. This head came popping right off, so it probably didn't have the best compression. That one was still stuck good, but yeah, you can see how much carbon buildup is on the top of those pistons. Oils down here in the valley, and we noticed already there is some pretty good scoring on the cam lobes that we can see. We also noticed when we took it apart inside that head, let's see if I can leave this here, inside the head was full of oil, and then we noticed here too that the actual surfaces here have oil on them, and they came apart real easy, and these gaskets are gone, so she's not been running to her full potential, that's for sure. There was where the cylinder heads at. How many bolts were broken in that one head? Two exhaust bolts. Exhaust bolts, yeah, they're out here, huh? Right here. Yeah, these four look good. That one, yeah, that one, and that back one. She's definitely had some oil running through her. You can see down to the valve. The valve's pretty clean around the top of the valve, so I think it was intake leak and oil jacket leak. Heads are off now, so we're going to get front dressings and transmission off and see kind of what happens. It's been running lean. Not so bad. Huh, I'm okay with everything I see there. Front dressings and transmission things. Okay, ready for a story? There's a story from the land of LS1. So this is probably going to go on my socials, but it's more an update specifically for the client to let me know if I'm okay on my thought process, if you want to tell me to do something else, or just keep going. So here's where we're at. The block is stripped down bare, as you can see. I needed a special puller to pull the harmonic balancer, so that'll be here in the morning. We're going to pull that off. The oil pump's behind it, timing is behind it. We'll get all that stuff taken off, and then we'll be good to go. All the sensors are taken out of it. Everything's down to the bare block and cylinders. So what we found is that this thing's been burning a lot of oil for a lot of years, and I know it's only got 90,000 on it, but all this carbon buildup on the top of the pistons and the yellowing inside, especially in the valley here, this is all from hot oil being run through it. And you can kind of see on these surfaces, this one was stuck better than the other one was. but you can see on these surfaces how there's some oil deposits on there, and especially like on the top surface here and on the intake surfaces. So we went ahead and flipped a motor this morning. Here, let me set you down real quick. So we went ahead and flipped the motor over this morning, and we pulled so these are the rod bearings and these are the main bearings. So we pulled 2 rods today. I think it was this one here and this one here. We also pulled the center main, which is where the thrust bearing is. The thrust bearing is like a pillow, so that when you push on the clutch and it pushes up against the back of the bearings and the back of the crank, it's got a little cushion here in the center of the motor. So we wanted to inspect this main bearing and these 2 rod bearings and just kind of get a clue as to what this looked like. One of the rod bearings came off and it looked like it was really good shape. Like we almost think that we were still looking at machine surface on it. Then we pulled the second rod, and when we pulled the second rod, it looked good on the surface of it, but when we pulled the bearing off of the actual cap, it looked like it had maybe spun at one point. It was really heat checked on the rear side of that rod bearing. So then we decided, well, let's get a main off of here and let's take a look at the main and see what the main looks like. So we took this main off, and it's 6-bolt main, so you got 2 through the side and 4 through the top. It's a really stout bottom end in these LS's. But we took this main bearing off with the thrust bearing, and right in the center of this bearing there's a big score right in the middle of this one. So it's really hard for me to answer. It's still kind of a shot in the dark at this point. You know, what we'd really like to do, regardless of this bottom end, is we'd really like to get this thing to the machine shop to have it hot tanked and cleaned out. And the only way that they're going to hot tank it and clean it out is if we disassemble it. And you can probably see the cam lobes down there. The cam lobes are really worn, and this has got low miles on it for a Chevy V8. And it also has roller lifters, so there's an actual roller that's riding on these cam lobes, especially like that one right there. It's got all the lines in it, so that's really beat up. And I think whatever material came off of that was probably running through these bearings at some point. So what I really want to do, I mean, here's as honest as I can be about it. The mechanic said if it was mine, I'd probably run it. I'm saying if it was mine and we were this far, I would want to at least hot tank it. If we want to hot tank it, I got to pull the crank and the pistons out of it. If I pull the crank and the pistons out to have it hot tanked, I might as well just have the machine shop put new cam bearings and new bottom end bearings in it and new piston rings in it, measure it, and put the right bearings and the right stuff back in it, and basically give me a clean, fully assembled, fully rebuilt short block. So it would come back in just like it looks right now, other than outside and inside it would be all brand new. Now I can do the miking and I can do this rebuild here in-house, but with time and, you know, expertise, I would prefer the machine shop to do this portion of it and then just allow us to assemble the top end of it. But like I said, the mechanic, Keith, he's 50-50 on it, and he said, you know, it looks okay. I'd probably run it if it was mine, but he wants to hot tank it. So there's where we're at. It was my call. What I was planning on doing was putting this thing on the pallet tomorrow morning after the front harmonic balancer comes off and the timing comes out of it. Put it on a pallet, take it to the machine shop, have them take it, pull it apart, hot tank it, and then give me a rebuilt short block in the condition that I have it right now. If the bearings are good, go ahead and run the bearings. If they're not, don't, that kind of thing. So that's kind of what I think is we'll send this one out to the machine shop and let them do their thing. Hopefully it's 2-3 week process. That'll allow us to start putting suspension components into this and working on the rear end and kind of doing that kind of thing. We went through and inventoried some of the suspension parts today, so we're kind of ready to go on that. Set the transmission up and just generally kind of get onto the rest of it minus the motor, and then when the motor comes back we'll be ready to just slam that thing together and put it on the K-member. Here, I'll give you a sneak peek. That's where the motor is going to get bolted, and then that's what's going to be right down in here in the bottom. So anyway, let me know what you think. As always, comment, questions, concerns, hit me up. Give me a like, subscribe button, hit the bell, smash stuff, do stuff, and we'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care. Oh, you thought we were playing? Keith and I had a little lapse in time between the Buick and the Land Cruiser, so we decided to tear the Camaro apart. So there's the K-member, there's bare engine, whole table full of parts back here. There's the transmission, bell housing, bits, tagged and bagged, more bits, and cylinder heads are over here with the clutch that we took out. Well, we're at the engine stand in. We're going to put it on the stand tomorrow. Take the oil pan off, inspect the bearings. The top end looks pretty good. It was leaking a bunch of oil, but the cross hatching is still there, and there's only a couple of cylinders that have minor scoring in them, so I think we might get away with just running a ball hone through it, hone it out, clean it up, and the bearings look okay, we'll go for it. But anyway, that's kind of Camaro update. Hey yo, BMR, do me a favor and the rest of your clients a favor. Pull one of these kits out of a box, use your own instructions, and try to install them. Have a nice day. I paid $900 for this kit, and I had to print my own instructions, and the instructions suck balls. Have fun with that. Okay, we got a little issue, and we need a tissue. So, we are setting up your guys' QA1 most epically badass sway bar back here, and we're also putting BMR Watts Link on, as well as control arms and lots of fun, happy stuff. Anyway, we're supposed to put these in with our Watts Link. These are 1/2-inch spacers that go in underneath the original sway bar links. And if I install these in here, I don't have enough U-bolt to be able to put these back on there. And I know that yours is set up for a factory style, and I'm doing Watts Link, but I kind of anticipate that you guys have ran into this before. So can you maybe hook me up with some U-bolts so I don't gotta source some different U-bolts? I had an idea to weld these onto the axle and then weld some hardware to the back of this and then put a bolt through it, but I'd rather just do this with the hardware that was supplied. So if you guys have run into this before, if you're laughing at me already, hit me up, send me some U-bolts, that's what I need. Thanks guys. Catch you later. Alright, so here we are in the land of Camaro. We're actively sifting through our big brake problems and missing hardware problems. But the next step is weld-on subframe connectors. So we stuck them both in here yesterday and got a couple of bolts in them, and kind of was looking at mounts and what we're going to have to clean up. So I just wanted to show you. It's probably a little easier on video than it is with pictures. So these are bolt-on or weld-on, but we're going to weld these things up. This car's been, you know, rode hard and put away wet, so we're going to stiffen her up as best we can. So we're going to end up pushing these brackets up into place. Let me see if I can get this in a good spot for you. So we'll push these brackets up into place and put some clamps on them, but I wanted to put them in here so I could mark on the frame, I keep wanting to call them frame stiffeners, the subframe connectors. I want to grind this off, and then I'm going to put like you know, like an inch and a half stitch, and I'll go across the front, and then if I can plug weld these, I'll plug weld, and then that'll hold that up good. It looks like right here I need to clearance that a bit right there so that this doesn't make contact. This looks happy here. And then we'll go back here. So this goes around the control arm mount. And so we'll clean this one up too. And I'll stitch weld around it, probably one in the front, one on the side, one on the side. If there is a factory hole here, I think their intention was to bolt that. If there's just a straight hole, I might not weld this hole up. If I can get some metal in there, I might plug weld that one. We got a little bit of alignment issue here with this hole. And this is kind of, you know, because this thing's been lowered and beat up and pulled on in the wrong spot. This needs some manipulation, we'll say, to get our holes to line up. But I wanted to see, so I'm going to mark this here, clean all that to metal. Same thing over here, we'll clean all this up to metal, and then probably across the front here. And then I think if I get one here and one here, I don't think I need to worry about going across the top, because this is going to be bolted through. So this is the control arm bracket, and this control arm will go back down to here, and we're putting a Watts link in and matching control arms and all that good stuff down here, the torque arm and that stuff. So anyway, I wanted to show you the subframe connectors. I wanted to show you the subframe connectors before I started cleaning stuff up and getting ready to weld. But I can't put the rear control arms in until these are on, and I can't put the cross member in until these are on, and so we're gonna put some subframe connectors on. Thanks, guys. I hope you're enjoying the, oh, I'm up here. I hope you guys are enjoying the project, and I'm trying to do a little bit more filming and picture work for you. It's a lot of double and triple duty, but I'll help you guys out. You help me out. Push that like button and that subscribe button. Anyway, catch you on the next one. Project's going well. Alright, so we got our Watts link about 50%. Our torque arm is slid up there in place. We started playing with cross members today. The subframe connectors are fully welded now and installed. Nice and stitched all the way around. So tomorrow Keith's gonna come in. I got these front ones stitched too. I just need to paint these front ones. Keith's gonna come in tomorrow and hang control arms and get the coilovers mounted up, work on some of this Watts link stuff. Hopefully that'll get the axle pulled up far enough to where we can slide a torque arm into place. And we started on K-member this morning. But we got some fitment issues that I need to go over with the company who built this. There's some things that aren't quite happy that I'm not okay with, and so I'm gonna get a hold of them, make it right. But anyway, that's where we are with Camaro. I think I got my brakes figured out. I gotta order one more bracket for these rears, and then that'll let us get that all put back together. And engine is over here wrapped up, ready to go. So I'm going to put that in the back of the truck and take that to the machine shop as soon as I get an opportunity to do so. Anyway, we're cooking along. Appreciate you guys. There's a Camaro update, shop update, and we'll get you some more footage and content here as the week goes on. So anyway, appreciate you guys. Hope you have a good week. Talk to you later. Take care. Okay guys, so I'm gonna put this on my YouTubes so that you guys can review it. We're doing a full Pro Touring build on this 2002 Chevy SS Camaro. It's a SLP Camaro. It's getting full chassis stiffeners, Watts link, torque arm, full tubular K-member, front A-arms. It's getting a full engine rebuild. 325, 305 on the front, you know, Texas Speed 2.5 top end, bunch of stuff. So we're trying to assemble this. We ordered back in June. The client was gracious enough to understand parts train supply issues, and we've been waiting for everything to come together. So now here we are with your guys' K-member on the table, and we've got the A-arm slid into the K-member, and we got a couple issues here that we want to address. So this A-arm here has got a pretty substantial gap in it in the misalignment spacers, and with as thick as this plating is, when we try to suck this gap out of here, it's going to crown this plate. I mean, it's going to be tough to get the plate to crown in the first place, but it's going to crown it, and then once it's crowned, we're going to lose our adjustment slot front to rear. We also noticed that on the factory K-member, because when we disassembled this car, I don't know if these are your guys's or BMR's, but we had the same issue on the factory K-member when this came apart. You can see that that's got a crown to it. So there's that we don't like. We don't know how you guys want to address it. And then with this thing fully assembled in place, we get this over here and we get our hardware put through the hole on this side, but we can't get that bolt through this side. Now we could probably force it, but it's not going to be fun to force, and it's going to cause premature bushing wear. So, you know, we kind of looked at this thing on the bench, and it looks like that maybe there's some twistage going on here with this. But what I wonder is, because we've got the same issue on both sides, that if it's not a jig problem or you know, I'm not exactly sure. It's consistent on both sides, which leads me to believe that kind of you intended it that way, but I really feel like that this isn't right. So yeah, so we got the misalignment issue. I really don't want to have to shim it, being these are custom machined misalignment spacers. You guys could give me a better spacer, that'd be nice. Then we don't have to rebuild the K-member. But the A-arms, I don't know how to work with this. So you guys let me know if this is a problem you guys have run into or what you want. Like I said, I ordered in June. I know what everybody's up against, but I got the car in here tore apart now and my lift's tied up. So the sooner I can get a answer to this question, the better off we're going to be. I did want to take up a couple other issues with you. Like I said, this is a full build, and so I spent a lot of money with a lot of different people, and I got a couple of gripes here too while I'm at it. This is a full torque arm from you guys, and the cross member for the torque arm, and in the instructions the pictures show that it has hardware with it, but then in the actual instructions it shows factory hardware installed, and I don't have any new hardware for this. This is like a $600 or $700 or $800 kit that I got from you guys. Same thing with the torque arm. I think I remember this being disclosed on the website, and I was like, no, I'll just get those locally. But now that I'm kind of putting this thing together, I'm really questioning, like, really, I spent all this money on all this stuff on this car for this client. He's been waiting all this time, and you guys really just, can't you just give me the bolts? I mean, even if it's a cost issue, which I understand. I work production, I work corporate, I know how BOMs work. Just up the price $5 or $10 and throw the bolts in the kit, and then we don't even have to have this conversation. I don't have to try to build a car to this caliber with factory bolts. And you know, I got my mechanic and me in here, we're trying to put this thing together, and you guys expect us to stop what we're doing and go get these 4 bolts? I mean, you sent us all those and all the control arm bolts and, you know, all the other hardware except for those 2 and these 4. It's a little frustrating and maddening for us little guys out here. You know, you guys are big companies, I don't want to say huge corporations, but you know, you're bigger than my little 2,000 square foot shop, and we build a few cars a year kind of a deal. But this is the stuff that really kills us. I don't really have the time to sit on the phone and go to customer service and then ask for his boss and then try to get to marketing, or like, I know this is just an issue in production, and if I get to the production manager or somebody, they could fix it, find out what's wrong with it, and send me a good part. And you know, the other part of it is that I don't mean to take it all out on you guys, but like, sorry doesn't fix it, you know, and that's what I keep running into with, you know, we apologize, things happen, you get it, but like companies like UMI and BMR and Holley and TCI, and you know, like it's real frustrating for us just trying to get something done, and I got my shop plugged up full of cars that parts came in wrong for, I just can't get the parts for. So anyway, I'll stop griping. And you know, like I said in my original email, the powder coating looks really good. Your guys' products are really going together fine, other than the A-arm issue that I got. You know, I know we're all struggling for employees, so I'm not trying to, you know, totally be a dick, but I spent a lot of money on this stuff, and this guy, he spent a lot of time waiting, and it's frustrating for us to have to go through this. So anyway, I'm going to send this off with the explanation, and please, if you can, get a hold of me and let me know. I'd love to work with you guys in the future. I mean, if you want to think about sponsoring a build or my channel or whatever, like, let's collab or whatever, because I'm not out to just bash everybody. This is cool stuff, and I just want it right for the customers. I do things the right way. So anyway, sorry if that was too much. Appreciate you if you watched the whole thing. You guys take care. We'll talk to you soon. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. Bye-bye. Okay guys, I got this kit over here I'm trying to put together, and I've got a whole bunch of stuff from you guys, so I'm just gonna throw this out there and ask. We're trying to set this thing up, and this is a UMI cradle and UMI A-arms, and I've got a substantial gap in here on the Heim joint, so much so that if we crank this down, it's gonna try to collapse this boxed end. And then we've got enough adjustment up here that, you know, if we say we're set here and we go ahead and set that in, it's going to crown this pocket, and then if we need to adjust this way and this way, it's not going to adjust because this is going to be puckered at that point. The second issue and the concern that I have is sitting in here on both sides of these A-arms. I can't get the A-arm bushing to line up with the hole. Now I could force this all together, granted, but this is going to cause premature bushing wear, and I've got the same kind of thing going on over here. You know, that's high in the hole, and I can't get the control arm bolt to go through. Again, I could force it, but then the same kind of issue we've got over here. We've got a pretty substantial gap that I'd want to shim this out, but you know, this is a complete kit that's designed by you guys with all the research and development, and I don't see why we couldn't, you know, get that in manufacturing process, or why I got a shim. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. This is your product.
The biggest issue is this right here.
Yeah, this premature,
is secondary, but important.
Yeah. So we need this issue, and then this one down here. I mean, we can washer it, but anyway, we're putting a whole Pro Touring build together on this car, and I can't have as much invested into this as we got and then have a concern about bushings. So anyway, your guys' product, you let me know. That's what I'm working with. Thanks, guys. Happy holidays. Okay, I gotta be quick so I can send this on Messenger. We got a gap down here. We don't really want to have to add a washer. This is gonna squish this and not allow us to adjust here. And then with this all set up, both sides of my A-arm bushings, I can't get those down far enough to get them into place. I can force this over and put pressure on it, but it's gonna cause premature bushing wear. And I got a gap here that I don't think I should have to shim, but I'm going to, just so that this doesn't pucker when I tighten it down. But I don't want to lose my adjustment, and I don't want to have this blow out the bushings early. So you guys let me know. Thank you. Oh yeah, boys. Because race car. These guys are working on, so A-arm should be on their way. They made us custom misalignment spacers. These are going to be a 12.5 millimeter shoulder on our custom misalignment spacers. So those are coming. Funny story. I don't know why us little guys like me, how I've done this, but they said they pulled this part out off of the shelf, and he said every single one of them has a twist to it like this. And in fact, he laid it on the jig, and when you lay it on the jig, he said there's a nub on the jig that forces that twist into the part. So then he went over and he got a factory part, he said, which is this one on one of these parts over here, this one right here on this transmission. And he said he got his factory part out, pulled it off, laid it on the table, and the factory part had a twist in it. So he has his R&D team working on it. So the moral of the story is when they built this original part, they built it off of a car that was twisted and built it off of a part that was twisted, or had to double check it at some point in its production run and modified the jig to a twisted factory part and a twisted car. So now that I have a straight car and I'm trying to put straight parts together. Oh, that was the last part of the equation. He said, this piece here had a twist to it, the jig had a twist to it, and the factory part had a twist to it, but the transmission tunnel brace that's back here, the driveline hoop that's in there, he said all of that stuff is flat, and their kit all is all supposed to go together. So he's working on it for me, and hopefully we'll see that. We did get our panhard bar, or God, I can't even remember what it is. This stupid thingy right here, that's a good one now. We've got the bad one gone away, and that's a good one. So we're happy there. Gonna order the Moser axle hopefully tomorrow if I get some time, and then motor will be back. Gaskets are here for this motor. Yeah, we're good on that one. All right, I'm gonna do my best to explain this quickly and in detail so that I can actually share this video via Messenger. So I'm trying to put Gen 2 CTSV rear calipers onto the rear of a 4th gen. This is a 2002 SS Camaro with a 10-bolt factory rear end. I got this brake kit. My other employee ordered it, and things aren't matching up. So I can't figure out where this bracket came from. I think it was from bigbreakupgrade.com, but he's not finding my order number, and all the order numbers got deleted for this part. So it should allow us to put that caliper in place of where this backing plate is, but you know, these two holes line up, but those ones don't, and these two line up and those ones don't, and there's no way for me to make this bracket work. Okay, so this is supposed to bolt to the flange where this is, where the dust shield goes. Okay, so that doesn't fit the axle, and then I pull my rear CTSV brakes out, and it doesn't match up with the CTSV brake, but it does. So these are the C7 Z51 6-pot front calipers, and these match up with the 6-pot front calipers, but those are the fronts, not the rears. So if I was going to put this one on the rear, I suppose I could use this, but this doesn't bolt to the factory 10 bolt. So this is supposed to be with this, but it doesn't match this. And then here's my dust shield, and there's the flange for the back of it, and this doesn't match this in any way, shape, or form. And this doesn't match that in any way, shape, or form. So I have no idea what any of this is. And the order numbers got deleted from the emails, and he can't find my orders, and I can't even find a picture of this bracket. I have no idea where it even came from. None of this stuff is gonna go on that car, and I can't put this car together. So I don't know, help me out, please. Clues, ideas. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, what do we got going on here? Oh. 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 Oh boy. Oh boy. It's about to get real fun in the shop. All right, what are we doing today? You know what's not here? Oh, Camino. Ah, we took it over to the paint shop for coatings. So today is engine brackets and covers day for the LS1. So there's the front cover, there's a rear cover over there, there's the top cover, there's some alternator brackets. I need to take the coils off and see about cleaning those brackets up, see if I want to paint them, make a decision on an alternator. Thinking about getting a new alternator. I don't know how well I'll be able to clean that up. Definitely going to get a new water pump, maybe even an electronic water pump, just depends on cost. And there's a rear cover, we just need to clean it up, put a new seal in it, new seals, clean that one up. We're going to do silver treatment on this one, silver treatment on this one. We'll get new idlers and pulleys, so those will be good, and then I'll probably paint the new one silver. And yeah, I don't know if I put pictures of this thing up yet, so here I'll So that's where we're going today. I'm going to try and get my bits ready for paint or painted, and then I got some other small bits that I'm going to take over to the house and paint, and then get ready to paint the El Camino. So I'll see how far I can get on this, and maybe even throw the cylinder heads on, and I don't know, we'll see. I got the head bolts coming in today, so here we go. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Okay, if you didn't watch the live video, here's your update. I've been working on Mr. LS1 all day and kind of been struggling a little bit to make sure that all these components are following the installation procedures, and checking my stuff and cleaning my hardware and whatnot. And so I think I'm gonna get to a stopping point today. I put these roller rockers in, and this is the issue that I'm dealing with right now. So I got the roller rockers in, and on some of the reviews they said that these rockers have to be ground down for the LS1, and then there were several that were like, no, it's because you're trying to use something besides the supplied shoulder. And this is what the rocker arm sits on, so this goes into the bottom of it here like this, and then when you flip this over, if you flip that over, that's what sits down on the cylinder head, and then you put your hardware in through like that. And they said that because people were not using the ones that were supplied, that was the reason they were having rub issues. And I did everything I was supposed to, and lo and behold, I've got rub issues. So rather than let them self-clearance and run all that stuff through the motor, I'm going to pull these rocker arms back off, and then I'm going to grind just this back top tip of them. It looks like just right here on the very top of it, because it kind of sits at an angle, so it's just these surfaces right here. So I'm just going to nib them off with the angle grinder and the flap wheel. I don't really want to get rid of the gold, but nobody's ever going to see the gold anyway once I put the valve covers on. So I'm going to do that on all 16 of them, and then I should be able to put the rockers in. Push rods are already in. Cylinder heads are on and torqued. Bottom end's all done. Whole pan's on, minus a couple of little bolts I gotta go get. Timing's done. Front and rear covers are done. So I'm just trying to get the valve train finished assembled, and then we can put the intake and top end on it, and then we'll be, I don't know, either ready for a transmission or cam member or something. But the engine compartment's going to get painted before this goes in, so once this is all assembled, we'll be on hold. So there's where I am today. I got a whole trash can full of bits over here that have already been put on the car, and I got my valve covers out, and most of my gaskets are installed now. We had to go get some new knock sensors and a couple other things this morning, but everything seems to be in pretty good shape. So I'm gonna see what I can do about these rocker arms, maybe tonight, maybe in the morning. I want to have a fresh mind while I keep going through this, but anyway, she's looking real spiffy and real pretty, and everything's miking out and checking with the feeler gauge is good and all that stuff. So looking good. I'm excited to get this thing stuffed together. Here's a Mosier. Yeehaw, boys. Talk at you soon. Thanks for watching. Take care. Morning, everybody. So I reviewed my videos and stuff from yesterday, and I realized that I was kind of in a brain fog and didn't go over much specific detail, so I wanted to do that today, because yesterday I did a whole bunch of detail work. So I got on the table all the stuff that came off of the motor when we pulled it out. This bucket is stuff we're not going to use anymore, lifters, old bolts, that kind of thing. So what we got going on over here is these are from Texas Speed and Performance. This is a Texas Speed and Performance 2.5 top end package. So these are CNC ported cathedral heads with dual rate valve springs, titanium keepers, all that good junk in them. Then we decided to run roller rockers. Some of the research I did said that you can suffer power loss through the factory rollers, or not the factory rollers, but the factory rocker setup. They're really good rockers from the factory, but they don't have a roller tip. They have a friction tip on them, and some of the dyno charts have shown power loss here. And these are obviously beefy and not going to have any sort of deflection, because the cam that we have in here is a Tsunami V2 cam, and it has over 600 lift, so it's like 629 lift with a 12-degree lobe separation, and so it's a pretty big nasty cam that's in here. So we wanted to run the extra valve and all that good stuff. So on the bottom of it, this thing is going to go on the track, and it's going to have these nasty 100 treadwear 325s shoehorned underneath the rear of it with those big brakes and a bunch of fun stuff. So the oil needs to stay where the oil needs to stay, which is around the pickup tube. The other thing that we wanted to do because of that was run a high volume oil pump. So it's got a Moroso high volume oil pump in it. And we also ran a double roller timing chain instead of a single roller timing chain. So because of all this stuff, most of this stuff normally is supposed to just bolt on right onto the LS and run, but we're doing little bits different kind of everywhere on this thing. So the oil pump had spacer brackets that go behind the oil pump. The oil pump's down here behind the cover, behind the front cover. So we had to run some spacers behind that oil pump to push the oil pump out, because we were running a double roller timing chain. So the timing chain is actually double thick and has 2 cogs on the bottom and 2 cogs on the top, which makes it thicker, which means the oil pump's got to come away from it so it doesn't rub on it. Okay, so we did all that. Got our special tools that we need to center up the front cover, the rear cover. We checked all that, got all that done. And then we flip this thing over to do the, I'm losing the term for it, the girdle, the cover. Anyway, sorry, brain fart. See, I've been doing a lot. Anyway, the cover went back on. We got that one cleaned. And then we were going to run this Mylodon baffled oil pan, and I've got some footage of the unboxing of all of this stuff that I'll release on the YouTube video here later once I get caught up and edited, so you guys will see all the details of all these parts in the unboxing video. But this is a baffled oil pan, and then I also ran the Mylodon pickup tube that goes with the baffled oil pan, so that way this has got trap doors in it. It's got 5 or 6 trap doors in it, so when the oil sloshes around it won't come out of away from the pickup tube. So we went to put the pickup tube on there. Well, because the oil pump is pushed forward and spaced out this way, it changed the dimensions of all the mounting for the pickup tube. So we had to modify the pickup tube yesterday to be able to get it installed, run the correct oil ring, because there's a few different oil rings that you are supposed to run. Got all that put together. Timing cover on, front cover on. That stuff's all good. And then like you see in the video yesterday, I started to bolt the valve train together, and I don't have much clearance here on these rockers. So I'm gonna pull all these rockers out, and then I'm gonna measure them, see where they're at, and then I'm gonna knock some material off of it, polish them back up, and then we'll put those back on to finish up the valve train. The holes here are for knock sensors. So I've got the cam position sensor in, and I have the crank trigger in. Those are all good. Those were fine, so I didn't need to replace those. They cleaned up fine. When we pulled the knock sensors out of the box yesterday, let's see if I can find the old ones here. Anyway, here's the new ones, and these got a little nipple on there that you push the wiring harness onto it and it clips onto it. Well, when we pulled the old ones, the factory ones, out of the box and went to put them onto this motor, I was going to clean them up. The tooth on one of these was broken. And this is sandwiched down underneath the intake, so if that comes loose, you'd have to pull the whole intake system off of this car to get to this knock sensor, and I didn't want to go through that pain, so I went ahead and looked for a new knock sensor. I was just going to buy one. Just a knock sensor was like 65 or 70 bucks, and then the kit that I got yesterday comes with 2 knock sensors, new seals, and a whole new wiring harness, and it was just 90 bucks. So I went that route, and that's going to get put on. Valve train, knock sensors. Water pump will do it kind of last with the harmonic balancer. I'm actually going to get a super damper, I think, and put a super damper on it just because of this big cam and everything else we got going on. And then we'll be able to pull the intake out and get the intake gaskets put onto it and go from there. So yeah, I'm gonna pull these off this morning, get that all taken care of, and start bolting this thing back together. My goal here overall with the shop is to get this mess of stuff kind of as close to put back into one vehicle as possible, because I don't want to be spraying paint and doing body work and rust repair and that kind of thing with all these nice shiny bits out and uncovered. So I'm going to get this kind of all put together. El Camino's over at the house. It's already got primer on it, ready to sand, ready to bed liner. So I need to get this stuff put together so I can get back over there to that pile of parts. So this stuff will go together, and I'll jump back on those pile of parts, get those things knocked out and ready for primer. And then this thing will kind of be ready to come down, and I can start sanding on it and doing final bits and tuning suspension and hooking wiring up and, you know, that kind of thing, and doing body work and on to the next. Appreciate you guys. That's a 7-8 minute video by the time I finish it up. So if you're watching, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hope you guys are liking the content. I'm really working hard on touching all the bases and keeping everything going while I'm working. And Tessa's working her butt off in the office. Feel free to contact her anytime. Hope to see you soon. Events are kicking ass. Catch you later. Take care, guys. And even after all that, look, there's still red and etch primer stuck to the aluminum. That's why we do what we do. That ain't coming off. Hey brother, I just wanted to take a minute to thank you for challenging me mentally and giving me some creative freedom on this beautiful project of yours. It's not very often that I get to say both things about a single project, and I just kind of am finishing up for the day and I wanted to show you what we did. Thanks, man. I would have never imagined. It's all because of you. Appreciate you, buddy. Talk to you soon. Don't mind the background music. We're excited. Can you blame us? Oh my gosh. What did we do? Oh. Oh. Whoa. Man. Appreciate you guys following. We're fired up now. Check out you guys soon. Take care. All right. Here's your mid / end of the week update for the shop. Here we are in Camaro land still. Yesterday, sorry about the road noise. Yesterday we took all the brakes and suspension off of the K-member. It was all dry fit to make sure everything worked out right. We debated on loading the engine up with the suspension on, but it's going to be an easier job to go ahead and put this K-member in with the engine and transmission, and then we'll assemble suspension parts to it. So I started addressing that yesterday. Got my engine hoist over here, ready to pick the motor up, get the brakes off, clean the shop, got the table out. And then we pulled out our motor mounts yesterday to hook the motor mount, or to hook the motor to the K-member, and they're shot, of course. So stopped what I was doing, ordered motor mounts. Of course, nobody has them locally, of all things, LS roller lifters and LS engine mounts, and you know, the typical LS stuff. Nobody has them in stock, so I had to order those from the internet. They're coming in. Cool, we'll wait on that. So then I was like, well, I can start addressing these brakes. So I've got these big bad CTSV Gen 2 rotors and calipers that are going on, and then here's our big nasty 5/8 studs. I mic'd everything out on the wheels and the axles and yada yada yada, but this goes in here but stops there. So they do have these wheel adapters that go with it, but as you can see, they're not going to get us there either. So I got an 11/16 drill bit coming for that. Should be here today. So that kind of put us on pause for that. So it was like, okay, pause there, pause there. Well, this has got to be painted before that engine goes in. So here I am today, stripping all the engine compartment stuff out of it. So I've got my cart over here full of bits that I took off today. And I have my camera hiding on the table over there so I can take my obligatory, we may need these pictures later pictures, and got some stuff stripped out of here. So all the wiring's kind of been pulled off, the humps on both sides. I pulled the cooling lines off. I pulled the AC system out today. Kind of got the miscellaneous lines and fittings all pulled up and the plastic clips pulled up off of it and tagged and bagged and stuffed on the cart. I just got done blowing this thing out, all the nasty pine leaves and yeah, that kind of thing. So now we're gonna get Scotch-Brite and wax and grease remover, and we're gonna get in here and we're gonna scuff and clean all these surfaces. This is all gonna get painted. It's gonna get painted down in here. That's gonna get painted. I gotta pop the hood off, paint the bottom of the hood, all that fun stuff. So bottom of the hood's probably not gonna get painted right now, but I am gonna paint everything from there down, including the hinges. So I'll probably mask around these hinges, leave this covered, leave the car covered, spray all this stuff. And base clear, I have a color picked out. If you guys are curious, it's a 1997 Nissan color, Quicksilver Metallic. Good luck finding a picture of it. I got the chips. Anyway, we're gonna do away with these stripes and we're gonna focus right here on this here scoop. I got some custom special stuff in mind. Client okayed me on it, so we're gonna go ahead and go with that after I do some spray out cards. And yeah, so here I am. Tomorrow motor mounts will be in, so I should be able to put this back in the, or put it into the K-member and kind of get going on that. And then hopefully by the end of the day today, I'll be done cleaning and I'll be ready to mask this thing for base and clear. Anyway, that's where I'm at. I'm really trying to get this thing put together so I don't get any overspray and massive dust and that kind of thing on the engine compartment components and that stuff before we jump back to Mr. El Camino. And I haven't talked about the Buick, but it's on my list here. There's Tessa. We're gonna get back here on this Buick here pretty quick. So anyway, appreciate you guys. Hope you're having a kick-ass week. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. All right, here we go. Monday morning. Joshy's got the Monday blues. Here we are, Camaro land. Here's where we got yesterday. Some days you have those days where just nothing works the way you want it to, and my masking was not going well Friday, so I got this far and said, you know, I'll finish it up Monday. So we're going to make a plan and get this thing painted in here this morning. Well, not this morning, but here maybe later on this afternoon. So we got a few hinges going on here, and Joshy and I kind of went over where we're at. And so the moral of the story, like I told you guys last week, is that the engine's got to go in this K-member, and then this K-member's got to go back in this car. So that's what we're trying to achieve, painting this thing so it can all go back together. Well, then I kind of was like, oh, one of the things that we need to address that I know is probably going to be a problem is shoehorning these big sticky meats on this thing. So I got the old ones and the new ones kind of stacked together. I'll show you. So these ones are the old ones here, and those ones are the new ones. So we pulled the liners out, and I know from these things from experience that these corners right down in here, they got a little bit of rub issues. And so I pulled the liners out, and the liners will always tell you the story. And lo and behold, we got some rub action already. Now this car was very, very low when we brought it into the shop, and it's not going to leave that low. It's going to need some suspension clearance, but those tires are real big. Now on this K-member down here, we have 1.5 or 2 inches of adjustment that'll let us move that wheel and tire in and out, so we can play with that. And but even having that said, I think we're going to end up having to cut and massage this area right here. But the problem is, and here's part of our hinges, is that we're not going to know that until we get it down on the ground. We can't put it on the ground without the K-member. So right where I'm at, I was like, well, maybe I should stuff the K-member in there and start checking suspension clearances. But really, there's no motor in there. The motor's still over here. So we got to get the motor weight and the transmission weight into the vehicle before we can set the ride height and the suspension height, which will allow us to get the wheel and tire on there and kind of move this in and out and up and down and kind of play with all this happy stuff. So what my plan is I'm going to go ahead and paint this engine compartment, and I'm going to do my best to not have to move forward, to move back, to move forward, to move back, to move forward. But there's going to be a little bit of this to make it all work. So I'm going to paint this engine compartment. We are going to do some custom stuff out here. I think for the moment, I'm just going to use the base silver in the engine compartment, because I think after the engine goes in, but before all the accessories and wiring goes in, I'm probably going to have to get back in here and cover everything up and work and massage this area, and then repaint this part of the apron with the motor in it and all that stuff. So that's kind of where I'm going today. I'm going to finish masking up the holes down in here and get the fenders covered, get the car covered, wrap this thing like a banana, and we'll go mix up some paint, see if we can get some paint on this thing. As soon as I can get the motor in it, then we'll be on to the next. So there's where we are. Appreciate you guys. I got Josh's hands over here helping me, so we should be able to muscle through some of this stuff pretty quick. Once I get it down on the ground, I'll be able to finalize the watts link and the control arms and all that stuff for the Mosier back here. So we're real close, but we have several hinges here in front of us to get through. So anyway, appreciate you guys. As always, thank you for watching, and hope you have a good week. We'll talk to you soon. See you at the poker run. Later, guys. So, if you guys remember, I've been talking about these new Meta Jewels that we're going to play with, and it's the Camaro silver color. So I've got two spray out cards with 3 different styles of doing this, and they all look the same in here. It's the Quicksilver metallic Nissan color. But then, watch this. Hopefully the camera does us some justice. Man, hopefully that comes out, because that's crazy. Thanks for following, guys. This is cool. Catch you later. You guys want a sneak peek before I run away for the weekend? The lights are all off. All you get's LED. There it is. That's all you get. I'm getting my camping shit ready. We're going to the woods. See you at the poker run. Woo! So I know how much you guys like deets. You want some details? Because this car is going to be all about the details, and I've been working on a lot of them. So here, let's get a little pointer. How's that sound? Everybody loves the pointers. Ah, green pointer. Okay. I guess we're closest to the back, so we'll start back here. Those are 14.5-inch second gen CTSV rear rotors with second gen CTSV 4-piston calipers. And this is our Mosier 12 bolt. That's for the F-body chassis. Note the castings for the torque arm. And captured bearings. Reluctor wheels. Watts link. Blah, blah, blah. So, we have been diligently working, trying to shoehorn that big 325 onto this thing. So, this is a 19 by 12, 46 millimeter offset with a 325 35 on it. 325 30. Nobody runs this wheel on an F-body. Everybody runs an 11-inch wide wheel with a plus 35. I am very, very close to being able to make this work. So I would have to get rid of this bump stop, which we knew we were going to get rid of anyway. And then up in there, we'll have a little massage work to do. Now this Mosier has 5/8 studs on it. It also comes with wheel spacers. Actually, they're not wheel spacers, they're lug nut spacers. And let me kind of show you what I got going on here. So this, let me go over here to our bucket. And we'll get another little spacer out here. And we'll get another lug nut out here. Now these are the extra long studs for drag race application. Because if down the road we decide to get nasty with this car, we will be ready for it. So these need to get drilled out just slightly so that they can go over the shoulder of this. And that'll let them sit down flush, which will give me about an extra inch on each side. Then we take our wheel spacers, our lug nut spacers, whatever you want to call them, and I'm gonna have to take and bevel the back edge just slightly right here. I'm gonna bevel that, and then those are gonna fit down in there, and then this is gonna go up on top of that over there, and then that'll lock all that down. So these axle shafts have been machined to fit my rotors right. And this stuff all measures out correctly. But where I need to do that, I need to get this thing down on the ground so that I can center this up happy medium left to right. And then that's going to put me right, probably right on the edge of the wheel well. So that'll put us right on the edge of the wheel well. You can kind of see where I'm at on this one. I'm super close. And this axle actually does need to come this way a little bit. But on this setup right here, I still am spaced out away from the rotor. So I think I might have to do just a slight roll on this quarter panel, but it's not gonna be a roll to where it'll look flared. But I think I'm so dang close. I'm gonna see if I can make this work, because if I can get these on here, these are, like I said, a 19 by 12. The fronts are a 19 by 11. 305 front, 325 rear. This thing is just gonna hook like no tomorrow. The other part of this scenario is that even Mosier, there's a company out there called Fly and Buy, and then there's Big Brake Kit and a bunch of other guys that make brake stuff for this, but nobody has the bracketry to go around this bolt-on flange that will allow us to use these calipers. So I actually just got them out of my hands from Northwest Toys LLC. My buddy Don over there is hooking me up. I took the template over and he brought me a 3/16 piece to check, and it is dead nuts perfect. So we're gonna be able to run these calipers, we're gonna be able to run these rotors, and the other thing we're gonna be able to run that nobody else runs is the traction control and ABS. The fronts are C7, 14.5-inch rotors with 6-pot calipers, and this setup also retains the wheel speed sensor and the reluctor wheel. So if all goes well, we'll have giant brakes, giant wheels and tires, and traction control and ABS with the Mosier 12 bolt. Woo! Okay, so there's where we are on the rear. Engine is on the cradle. She's under here ready to go. I am waiting until it says delivery date the 5th, so Tuesday, Wednesday, and I will get the AN line conversion. So there's a to go with this fast intake, there's a fuel line conversion, so I don't have to do all custom underneath here. I can just go from the factory fuel line up to the new fast fuel rails. So there's a jumper that comes across here. I'm losing the terms. There's the Schrader valve. Schrader valve fitting is in one side, and then the fuel inlet goes on the other side. And then when I run a braided hose down like this, I think I'm gonna run it across the front right here behind the bracketry, and then it'll hook into this factory fuel line in here. So that's on its way. I pre-ran all of the wire loom and backed into its spot, so that way it's kind of be ready to lay on top of the motor when the motor and car get mated again. Some of our braided loom came in, so I've got some more of various sizes of this coming in, so I can run this over all the engine compartment stuff. I have silicone hoses coming in to replace all the black vacuum lines. Are going to go red. I have shrink tube fittings for the ends of them, so I can shrink tube them. The other part of this is with this Mylodon baffled oil pan, you've got to run a oil filter adapter. So here's my oil filter adapter. It'll go in down under here, like so, and that'll run us. Let us run happy oil filter. Okay. And then never want to put together a brand new motor without doing a new harmonic balancer. New harmonic balancers are like $200. ATI Super Damper is the way to go, especially with roller top end, big nasty cam. It just really balances out the harmonics of the bottom end of the motor much better. It's an adaptive damper, so as the harmonics change in the motor with the cam and RPMs, this damper will help a lot more and keep the engine running smooth, keep the in-chassis or in-cabin feel is going to feel a lot better. So ATI Super Damper, oil filter, and then we got a New clutch reservoir. This is one of those things that I just couldn't, my eyes couldn't get away from. Let me see if I can find that other junky looking part over here. From that. So we went from this to this. So that'll get installed with the engine. We put a new slave cylinder in it. But one of the things that on the slave cylinder that was installed, it had an aftermarket line fitting on the one side of it. So I kind of got to looking at the car and wondering what the heck was going on. And you guys can see the gold fitting over here. This is actually, when you peel this back, this is actually a braided line. So somebody previous to us having it replaced the clutch line with a braided line. So that's a braided line setup. So I went ahead and changed that out and put that fitting with the new roll pin onto the new slave cylinder so that we can retain the braided line that was already installed in the car. So that's all happy. This stuff's all good to go. Like I said, I'm gonna lay out wiring when I get my wire loom and all that good stuff. Front dressings and front accessories, those will all go on once the motor goes in the car. This thing actually sits really, really far back in the engine compartment. So about this much of the intake is behind that cowl shelf. So I'll have a lot of room in the front of this thing to go ahead and put this thing together once it goes in. And I won't have to worry about this snaking on stuff as it goes in. So that's all good and happy. Engine compartment's painted, ready to go. That's ready to go. Ran down the wheels. Yeah, as soon as the miscellaneous bits come in, I'm gonna mate this thing together and then we can put some weight on this thing, and then we'll take and put these A-arms into the K-member, which will be in the car. We can hook up all the front suspension. We should be able to at that point. I think Don said that he's looking mid next week, and that's when the other parts are gonna come in. So looks like maybe end of the week-ish next week. All this kind of stuff is all going to kind of start falling together and kind of getting weight back down on the ground and wiring hooked up, so that way I can really start to tune and tweak on the suspension stuff. So it's a good solid 12-minute update. I guess it's going to go on the YouTube channel maybe. Well, anyway, that's where we are with the 35th anniversary Camaro. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys are enjoying. Humping and pumping and getting everything going as quick as I can. Anyway, there's my face. Thank you guys. If you're new here, I really watch my analytics, and I watch my comments and all my likes and all my subs, so I really appreciate you guys. I see you. Hit that bell down there for me, hit that subscribe button, and it really helps me out and helps the channel keep on growing. But anyway, I'm going to get on to the next, whatever that may be, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys. Happy 4th. Woo! All right, here we are, lunch break time on Thursday, and here we are in Camaro land. So we finally got all of our bits in to finalize the installation. I am waiting on one seal for the transmission output, but I didn't want to delay this process any further, so I decided I'm going to struggle my butt through putting that seal in with this motor and tranny installed into the car so that I can actually install it in the car. So here we are, dressing up engine bay and pulling all of this nasty looking wire loom out of the car and putting this nice stuff in. So we're about 65% of the way done with that. This is the main harness that runs across the back of the engine. This is the tranny, runs down to the transmission. We still need to run the fuel injectors themselves and the coil packs. But we're most of the way there on all this stuff. We're all lined out. We actually got this stuff in over here today too, underneath all the IBS. So that's all happy and pretty looking. This stuff's all good. So we're just kind of making sure that we're touching all the wires and making sure our ground connections are good. Part of the process here is that it's going to go over to the tuning shop, and the things I explained to my son, he's been here helping me the last couple of days, is that tuners hate to see wire loom and tucked bays and grounds reattached after it's been painted. So we really got to make sure we do a good job cleaning these off and getting these grounds done right and making sure that we're connecting all of our wire clips, because we'll do all this work and the tuner will pop the hood and go, oh God, I gotta take all that apart to find out what's wrong with it so I can tune it. So we're making sure we're doing all this right. That'll go in. Under here looks all happy. We got our cross member mounted to the transmission, and so we're kind of going down with the car, back with the motor, down with the car, back with the motor. And then these two mounts here have got to get mounted right there where those two little channels are, so we're that close. But anyway, we're gonna get this motor bolted into place and hang most of the wiring on it today before we go home, and then we'll be ready to throw suspension and hopefully wheels and tires and brakes and that kind of thing on here next week. So there's where we are with the Camaro. Once this is all one car again, I'm gonna bag it up and set it down, and then we'll be back on our El Camino parts. I put a few hours in on these last week. This fender's pretty much done. That fender's 50%, and then 2 more doors. And we're over to paint. So hey y'all. So I'm gonna take a minute and take time out, and I want to go over some stuff specifically for UMI performance. It's for the boys over there. I've talked to Brent in the past. I've talked to the social media guy that runs this, that'll probably see this first. I've done everything I can to try to express my situation and frustration, but I just got your guys' K member put in the car finally, and I can't not say anything now. So as you can see, I've got a jungle gym of parts from you guys in this car, and I've been running into nothing but frustrating issues the whole time. And I tried to address this with Brent via email, and the way he kind of talked to me about it, it was just kind of like, well, that's what we deal with, and you know, shouldn't be a big deal, you know. So I'm just gonna run over this crap with you guys because this isn't right. So anyway, the first issue we ran into, and you guys can dig on my YouTube channel and whatever and find the first original video. These A-arms right here were not right. These bushings were so twisted that when we installed it into the K member, we couldn't get the bolt through without forcing the A-arm and bushing way down. They were off by a substantial amount. I mean, you can probably still see, yeah, you can see that twist. So, you know, and then the other part of it is that these misalignment spacers, when you insert them into the Heim joints, and then you put these original ones that you guys sent me into the K member, there was like a 1/4 of an inch gap in here, and that wasn't going to be acceptable either. So kudos to you guys. You actually oh, sorry about the light. You guys actually, you know, listened to my measurements and got me some custom ones, so that's cool. These are the good A-arms that you sent me in replacement, so that's cool. And some of my other concerns were, you know, hardware. So as you can see, I've got products on this car from various manufacturers, various suppliers, various builders, and I'm a builder. So kind of what I went over with Brent is it's extremely frustrating for builders like us to pull all these parts out of the boxes. And it's not just your parts. They, generally speaking, will always go in conjunction with other aftermarket parts. Usually people aren't going to do just a single A-arm and call that a day. They're going to do an upper, they're going to do a lower, and they're probably doing brakes or a coilover at the same time. Especially at a shop level. And you guys deal with a lot of shops, you know what I'm talking about. So here I am trying to put all this stuff together. Yeah, I've got QA1, yeah, I've got Big Brake, yeah, I've got BMR, UMI, I've got all kinds of stuff going on. But this stuff is all research and developed for this chassis, whether it comes for you guys or anybody else. And I'm a fabricator here in the shop. I've got all kinds of miscellaneous projects. Now, it's not outside of my wheelhouse to get some tube and mock up a jig off of my factory K member and buzz me out a tubular K member and call it a day. I do custom paint in-house, so I'll charge the customer for the paint and then I'll paint it instead of you guys painting it. A lot of what I'm paying for when I buy these parts from you guys isn't the material. It's not the red powder coat. It's the research and development and the kitted part. So that me as a builder, when I come in here, I can pull your guys' parts out of the box and I'll have everything that I need to put this thing into the car. Now, on all your guys' stuff, and it's all over the website, and I went through this with Brent, you guys have these optional hardware things all over your guys' parts. So I've got to go, and not only do I have to make sure that I order the right stuff in conjunction with all of this other stuff that I've been ordering for this car, okay? And then I got to go through your website and I got to make sure that I get every part number for the hardware kits that go in conjunction with the control arms, and they go with the torque arm, and they go with all this stuff that I bought from you, okay? Here's an example. This is a Mosier Engineering 12-bolt aftermarket rear housing, and you guys know what I'm talking about. Okay, I ordered this thing, and I have to look at my invoices, but I probably spent less on this axle than I spent with you guys on suspension parts, okay? Just throwing this out there. And when I pull this thing out of the box and I start going through the instruction manual and start going through the hardware and stuff that they sent me literally everything that I could possibly need, even for the circumstances in which that could possibly arise from putting this into this F-body platform. Why did they do that? Well, one, they reached out to me with a phone call, and I actually talked to them after I made my order, and they made damn sure that I was gonna have everything that I needed and that I was gonna be happy with the product. That's the first step. Then the second step is that they've done enough research and development, they've worked with enough fabricators and enough car builders that they know, like you guys should know, what could come up. So they sent me the extra spacers I needed, they sent me the extra studs, they sent me all the optional hardware, they sent me everything. Half of it I'm gonna put in the garbage, okay? Why did they do that? For the builder, so that I can take their part out of the box and I have everything I need to put this thing together. I didn't have to order any extra bolts, any special part numbers, and verify and make sure that they go in the right locations. When I get a control arm, I should get the bolts with it. If I'm ordering everything that I'm ordering. Okay, now I know. Here's where we're gonna go into. We're gonna go into cost, okay? Here's another example. We'll skip over cost for a minute, okay? So this is the K member. I bought the K member. K member is expensive. Like I said, I could have made it, I could have painted it, right? Then I had to order the actual optional hardware for the K member. But then when I open the package, there's 6 mounting bolts for this K member. You guys send me 4. 3 for each side, you guys send me 2 for each side. And then in the actual instructions, even on top of the part number that I ordered for you, you say that I gotta dig out these old, crappy, nasty factory bolts that you guys are lucky, and I'm lucky that I always tag and bag and save my stuff. But you want me to put this car together with this nasty looking thing when I got a fully painted bay and all these parts underneath this thing. You want me to use that. And I already went out of my way and paid you guys the extra for the extra optional hardware kit, so I would have brand new hardware to put this thing in and out of the box. So even after all of that effort, I still got to stop what I'm doing and go down and get 2 nuts or 2 bolts and 2 hardened washers so that I don't have to put this car together with any old nasty factory 30-year-old original bolts. It's not cool, okay? So let's go into the cost. All right, cool. I understand these things cost money and you guys are in for profit and all that good stuff and you can't fucking make a loss, okay? What could these possibly cost you? And if they cost you so much that it affects your bill of materials so much that it's gonna affect your profit on that actual part number, then you need to up the cost of this part, because I'm telling you, $5 or even $10 or even $15 difference on a part like this or a build like this is not going to deter me from buying your part versus the X guy's part, or deter me from buying an aftermarket part altogether. I'm still gonna buy the part, and I'm actually gonna have more confidence in you as a company that you gave me everything that I need without me having to ask you and beg you and pride and prod and do 10-minute long videos and try to get after everybody over. Is it overcomable? Yeah, it's overcomable. But when I have it on this, and then I have it on that, and then on that, and then on that, and then on that, on every step of the way, okay? Right here. Factory bolts. No big deal. Yeah, it is a big deal on this car because I don't want to use those old bolts. I want new hardware. I want it Loctited, and then I want a paint mark on it to know that it was stayed torqued after we put it on the track. Oh, I got to clean that so that I can paint mark it or paint it and then paint mark. You're like, come on, guys. And we'll go back to the actual building of the parts. Okay, so when you guys put these up on the jig, these are all obviously made on a jig. One, we didn't get the A-arms right. Okay, fine, whatever, things happen. You guys sent me new ones, I'm cool. Fast forward, put the K-member in, right? Okay, well, let's go under here and let's look at the K-member. So, now, engine's hanging. Bolt center. Bolt center. Bolt center. Bolt center. Bolt center. What the hell am I going to do with that? I'm going to have to pretty much take all the meat that's left out of that thing to get that bolt in there. I don't even know that if I loosen this K-member up that I could even shift it around, because this thing literally goes in where it goes in. So, you know, something's going on with your guys' jig setup too. Now, like I said, I've been in parts, I've been in manufacturing, I've been in big business. I know how all this crap works. If this right here had a full-size stud in the jig that wouldn't allow it to move this way, this way, this way, this way, anywhere. Now look, this thing's floating on these two tubes, okay? And then you guys got a washer. You have a built-in misalignment to your front K-member. This is built into your instructions. Why don't you go and adjust the jig? Why don't you get the jig out, cut the jig apart, move this thing up 1/4 of an inch if it's consistent on every car and every K-member that you guys put out so much to a point it's on your instructions. Cut that dang jig apart, move this thing up 1/4 of an inch, get rid of this washer and start sending me some bolts so that way I ain't got to deal with all this. You put a big fat stud right here. You got other ones right here. You put another one on the back, you put another one on the front, you put a plate down here like this, it sets down on there, it sets on the pin, it sets on the stud, and you weld it home. Well, I'm not trying to be an asshole here, guys. Like, I'm a second generation builder. I've been building cars since I was 8 years old. This should not happen. I'm charging customers a premium on hourly rate to put these things together. And then I paid you a premium for the research and development, like I said, so that I can pull this stuff out of the box and put it together. It's just maddeningly frustrating. And then when I try to talk to people like, I think Brian, well, I'm sorry, I forgot his name. I looked it up before the video. But anyway, you just come across like, what, I build cars too, and I had to do this and I had to do that, and you ordered this and you ordered that, and so you should have done this, and I don't know what your problem is. My problem is that I ordered parts from you and I needed to pull them out of the box, put them on the car, and you guys didn't send me what I needed. And then there was a story about you should have ordered this package and not that package, and this other package and not that package, and that's only one of them for this car that I'm working on, and I'm doing 5 at a time. So, you guys watched a 12-minute video, cool. I'm not trying to rant, I'm not trying to rave, I'm not trying to blow you guys up, but I'm just a guy out here in Oregon trying to put together some sweet cars, paying everybody else premium, everybody else is making money. And I gotta run into this over and over and over and over and over and over again. It's such a hiccup and a hang up on being able to build cars, man. Anyway, thanks for watching if you did watch. I don't know where I'm going to put this. I don't know if it'll send on Messenger, if I have to post it or what. But anyway, get back at me. I'd really appreciate if you showed it to the marketing manager, the sales manager, and the production manager on the floor. If one of those 3 people, 2 or all 3 of them see it, stuff like this will go away. Your guys' parts will get a lot better. Your reputation will get a lot better. And you won't have a bunch of builders out there frustrated with your parts trying to put together these cars. Because some of us are doing really good work, trying to be honest about it, trying to do things the right way. Not everybody's a crook. Not everybody's out to just blow smoke. And not everybody doesn't know what they're talking about. Some of us have been doing this a long time. And we may still be small. You may not know our names. But we're damn serious. So anyway, I get off here. Thank you guys. I'm going to do what I can to take care of this K member. Sending me a new one's not going to help at this point. So I'm going to do what I can to fix it, and we'll move on. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Okay. There's an engine. There's a transmission in there. Oh, there's wheels and tires. What in the heck is going on here? Oh. So, as my previous videos stated, I needed to get weight on the ground so I can figure out tire fitment, all that good, fun, happy stuff. So, we got these in here, and I started moving steering back and forth, and my suspension is all the way out, and I actually need to take off the back of this barrel of the wheel. I need to machine out just a little bit to get these to fit on, because I've got a half inch or so still that this could seat back onto the rotor. So there's that. Here's how close I am out here. And then we went ahead and cycled the suspension, and I loaded it this morning all the way up. It's actually sitting, the front end sitting down on its weight right now. So I do have some ride height adjustment because we're not going to live with the 3-finger crap. So we'll take care of that. But when we go back, obviously we've got a little rubbage there, and even right now with where we are, this thing barely catches the front bumper. I mean, if I just take and pull this front bumper out about like that, it clears right in there. So I am going to take these wheels off, and I'm going to machine out the back of it and get those to fit on there to where they're supposed to. I did on these inner fender wells, we started looking, and it's be easier to show you on this side. Well, we originally pointed in here, and this right here is actually where the factory liners were getting rubbed off and making contact. So I kind of anticipated maybe this little jock right here having to go, out like this to give us another inch or so of space. But actually what I found is we're really clear over there, and we're really clear in the back because this stuff's pulled out. But right here, this corner needs to not roll back in like it does, and it needs to be out here. So what I think I'm going to do is get in here from underneath, and I'm going to cut this right here in the corner as far back as I need to, and then we'll kind of overlap those like that, and then I'll put a spot weld in it and stitch it, and then grind it down. And then we'll probably just repaint this apron right here, just this front piece to match everything. I still got all the material. I'll do that there, and I'll have to pull this box back up over here, which is pretty easy. It's just clipped in, and we'll do the same thing right down in there, which is, you see the light, this corner right there. So we've kind of take that little 90 and make it more of a, like, follow the fender well like this, just like you see in the video. Make it more like this, and then we'll just tape it off right here. And right here we got nice hard lines everywhere. We'll pull the wiring back up, pull the boxes out, and then we'll just repaint just this apron and that apron over there, and we should be good to go. And I'm actually wondering, now that I'm looking at it, if there's junk in here that I can get to block that off. I know the battery goes in over here. You would never see that. So if I have to, I'll repaint it. If I don't have to, we'll get away with it. It'll be cool. I'm going to do that. Scoot the wheels and tires in, scoot the suspension in just to where we're happy. Get this thing kind of brought up in the air. And we're going to play with all the nuts and bolts and move stuff around. And maybe, just maybe, a little trim here. We'll get these things shoehorned on there. I love everybody coming by with a Ranchero. So yeah, this is all good and happy. I'm okay with it. No tire on over here. But yeah, we're at the point where this thing's down on the ground, everything's bolted in. I got weight on the front end. I can put weight on the back end with another hour worth of work probably. Torque arm, control arms, that thing needs to be hooked up, and then we'll be ready to start fitting. So here's where I am. This engine bay looks gorgeous. Oh my Lord. All right, we're out of here. Happy Friday, guys. We'll see you next week. Take care. Alright, so I don't know if there's going to be a full video or just a small Camaro update. I'm trying my best to, excuse me, trying my best to get my hands on these parts and get these parts put into the car, but I'll kind of explain where I'm at and what I'm doing. So, I have a Griffin radiator on order. It has not come in yet. It was supposed to ship 3 weeks ago, and then they changed the shipping date, and it's coming through Summit Racing, and Summit says that they might have a communication breakdown with the vendors, so my shipping date might not even be accurate. So I'm waiting for the radiator to come in. Really, I kind of want to set that in place, but so I got everything else out. Here's the dipstick. I got to pull the oil pan to drill the pan and install the dipstick, and then mount it up high. We have, this is the transmission tunnel brace. This came from UMI Performance, but it's got a really big twist in it. So I'm gonna have to cut this and retwist it, re-weld it, and repaint this piece to be able to make it work. UMI never got back to me and never supplied me with a good part, and so I own it now. We've got the Dakota lithium battery with the battery box. We're gonna run the battery box back here in the trunk. So, and to go in conjunction with it, I've got the relocation wiring, and then I also have the battery cutoff. So we're going to do an external battery cutoff. There's the plates for it. So I should be able to start kind of running that, but as you can see, until I kind of get the rest of the canisters in place, it's kind of hard to run these wires back to wherever they're going to go to. So I'm a little hung there. I've got the oil system, the oil cooling system. I've got all the components for it. So we needed to replace the one that we had. So this goes on the bottom of the oil pan and allows you to run what's called AN fittings out of here. The one that I had before didn't have the AN fitting provision. It had an oil filter provision and a sensor for the oil temperature, but the client decided he wanted to run external oil cooler in this rig. So I had to exchange that one for one that's got the AN line fittings. So this car, it never came with an oil cooling system from the factory. And now, because we're going to install one, you've got to run a thermostat for the oil. So the reason you got to run a thermostat for the oil is the same reason you got to run a thermostat for your coolant. The engine's designed to run with warm oil, with hot oil in it, but you don't want to exceed the recommended temperature of that oil. So what we need to do is we need to stop the oil from flowing so that it can build up temperature so that it runs at its optimum temperature as far as the lubrication is concerned. So we have to run thermostat. So here's my thermostat. So we come in from the cooler, or we'll go the other way. We come in from the engine, we go out to the cooler, back through the cooler, in from the cooler, through the thermostat, and then back to the engine. That way we can stop the flow of the oil and warm it up, like I said, and then once it's warm enough, this thermostat will open and allow the oil to go through it and keep it cool. Okay. The other part of this equation is the filter. So we have to run a remote filter now to be able to run the remote oil cooler. You can run a single filter or a dual filter. The pricing difference between the brackets was only about 20-30 bucks. So we're gonna run a nice dual filter. So you've got 2 oil filters to filter out any contaminant in this rig. It's got a nice billet mount on the back of it, so we'll be able to mount this up in the car and then run our AN line fittings to it and from it. The actual oil cooling radiator is right here. So this one's a unit with a fan on it, so that way if it warms up we can control the fan. Here's the AN line fittings for it. So this is -12. The filters are -10, and a lot of the other stuff is -10. So I got to go -10 to -12 and do some adapting. So basically we're going to go from the engine to the thermostat, from the thermostat to the cooler, from the cooler back to the thermostat, and back into the engine. The last piece of this equation, the temperature control switch for the fan on the oil cooler. So on the other side of this spectrum, we want this to run warm enough but not too warm. So if we open the thermostat, oil starts pumping through the system, but the cooler alone can't cool the oil back to its optimum temperature. We need a fan to be able to cool that oil off for us. We don't need the fan to run all the time because it would cool the oil off too much and close our thermostat. So what we got to do is we got to put a switch in to tell the fan when to turn on. So our oil cooler turns on at 180. The thermostat opens at 165. So this oil system will run consistently between 165 degrees and 180 degrees. It might see 185, maybe even 190, but with this fan and this cooler, it's gonna come down real quick. So you're never gonna see a 200 degree oil temperature. So there's kind of the rundown on the oil cooling system and oil filter and remote filters. We have a carbon fiber hood on order from Extreme Dimensions. We don't have an official shipping date yet, but it's going to be a couple of months probably before we see it. They literally listened to my story, got on their order, got on their computer, and tried to steal somebody else's hood to make this happen for us. And he got on there and said, I don't have another one in the system. You're the only one that's got one on order, and I only have 2 coming in. The soonest one to come in, I think, is going to look like the end of October, maybe November. I'll do what I can to try to rob one for you, but that's all we got in the entire world. So maybe we'll see the hood at the end of October, and then we can put the flappy paddles on it and put some body and paint on it. So back to the radiator. I ordered some Mishimoto hoses for it. So it's got red Mishimoto hoses to match our red and black and silver theme that we got going on. These are the rear 2nd gen CTSV calipers. These will get painted red to match the C6 6 pots. I'll talk to the customer and see if he wants the Corvette to go away. I originally intended on making the Corvette go away, but it kind of made him smile when he was in here last time seeing the Corvette on it. So he might want that. I can put Corvette on this. We can do whatever. So, but those are intended to go red so that they match what we got going on here. And I've got drilled and slotted rotors and drilled and slotted rotors. They're not from the same manufacturer, but I did my best to match everything up so that way all of our details are matching each other. The amount of time that I've had to put in to make all of these parts kind of jive and go in conjunction with each other has been unprecedented. I've never had my hands around something that was this complex before, and even though they say they go in conjunction with each other, like I'll give you an example. The client especially requested so I got these MSD coils, so we're going to bump up the heat on the coils. Gwendolyn, no. Thank you, babe, but no, not right now. I will help you. Okay. So we got the hot coils for it, and because of all the work that we had done to the motor, one of the special requests the client had asked is he wanted polished valve covers to match the ceramic coated headers. He requested the ceramic coated headers because that's the look that he wanted down in here. So the red and the black, that was my call, but the specific statement was we don't want any signatures in here, we don't want any writing, we don't etching, we just want the pure, nice, clean valve cover. Okay, so I spent I think 3.5 hours on the computer over 2 days going through valve covers for LS motors. This is an LS1. All LS valve covers are the same, right? Okay, so I did that whole pain, and then I ordered them, and then I waited. They're Holley covers. They're designed for the Camaro 2002 SS Camaro. They're supposed to go right in conjunction with everything else. We put it all together, and I can bolt this one here, and that one is that far off, because apparently there's 3 different versions of LS coil pack for the Camaro. Unbeknownst to me, didn't know that. Now here we are. So those, after 4 hours of research, those are the only valve covers in the entire world that are polished, ceramic coated, and have no signatures in them. So I have to run those. The coils have already been taken out of the box, so I have to run these. So now I got to figure out how to make a custom little bracket down here to get these coils to match all on there, so that way I don't have to try to send some of these parts back or beg the vendors to take them back, or eat the cost of the part, or pass the cost of them buying another part along to the customer. So I'm going to figure out how to make all these work. This is kind of the custom part of putting these cars together, is that, well, I'm just going to have to figure out what to do. So we'll get the coils in there. These were the original mounts, but you know, they were designed for something completely different, so those won't work either. Yeah. We've got our braided hoses for all of our brakes. Those are ready to pretty much just bolt on. I have my custom backing plates for these rear calipers. Those are sitting in the car, so as soon as I lift this thing back up on the lift, I can pull the wheels and tires off and finish up brakes. This is our billet clutch reservoir, so it'll go back in here like that. Just gotta throw that in real quick. Here's the electric water pump and the polished swivel neck to go with it. So this is polished water pump, polished swivel neck, and then that's gonna go on the front of this engine. Let's see if I can safely pick this bad mamma jamma up. And this one is gonna go right there on the front of that engine. Okay, so there's that. Now you guys might have picked it up and might have been wondering what the heck that little thing is sitting down over there. I put on the parts estimate power steering pump / covert ops. So here's the skinny on it. This is a Volvo electric power steering pump, and we're gonna run that sucker right back in here with the battery. We'll put some more weight over the rear end. We'll take some componentry out of the engine compartment. We'll run the wiring back here in the back, And then the ultimate goal is that when this thing is done, the only live pulleys that we'll have on the front of this engine to be ran by the crankshaft will be the air conditioner, because yes, we're keeping the air conditioner and creature comforts, and the alternator, so that we can spin some juice back into the battery. That's the only thing that you're going to see this crank have to spin up on this motor. Power steering is going to go to the back, no smog pump, and water pump's going electric. Bada boomski. Oh, we've got a doubled in stereo with extra switches. I know that the customer is going to run a doubled in stereo in the long run, and we also needed some more switches up in here to run some extra componentry, so I went ahead and got that. It came from the same company as the front splitter. So the front splitter's here, and then here's the gauge pods. So this goes in the top of where the vents are, and it only partially blocks off your vents and then gives you 2 gauge pods. And the customer had talked about adding some gauge pods in, so I wanted to get that, get the doubled in stereo, and it came with the wiring harness. He may have the stereo shop do that, but at least it's there and ready. And then the front splitter came from Mag Performance, and it's called the Q splitter. So this splitter kind of assembles like this, and then these pieces can move like this on the car and make different designs depending on how aggressive you want the splitter, how you want the front body line to look, etc, etc, etc. So we'll see that little splitter sticking off on the front of it, and that's about all the aero we're going to see. We are going to gap these fenders a little bit, and I've got a plan to roll these and modify back here, so that way we can get this fender out over the tire. I'm going to roll these back here just slightly. I've got the roller here. Adjust it, set it all down, and start going on some of this stuff. So I'm going to try and get some of it mounted. I'll get the AN lines kind of measured out, and then I'll have to order those AN lines and fittings. Then once the radiator comes in, we'll be able to drop the radiator in place and then start kind of hooking wiring and plumbing and that kind of thing up. Yeah, it's kind of one of those start stop projects, and you know, I try not to waste my time and spin my wheels on stuff when I know I don't have everything I need to get the thing done anyway. So yeah. Anyway, there's a Camaro project. My stuff didn't work for the Buick, and I am in good shape on the El Camino. Those parts are all ready to move to the paint shop. I tried to adjust the alignment on my Honda this morning and found $400 worth of parts that I need to buy for it, so it's going to go back outside till I have time to work on it. And I'm going to try and chip away on this Camaro a little bit, get some stuff done to it, and then we'll be back over to the paint shop, try and get this El Camino put in paint. So, anyway, appreciate you guys. It's been kind of a long, rough road over the last couple of weeks, but I thank you so much for being here and keeping up with me. So, anyway, hair's a mess, I'm a mess, shop looks good, projects look good, so I hope that's what counts. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button for me, and we'll see you on the next one, guys. Appreciate you. Alright, let's see how long this update video is. Oh, we did stuff. Hang on. Ooh. So, Griffin radiators in, fans are in, AC condensers in, AC lines, dryer lines up to the inside condenser. I finished wire looming the top wires for the fuel injectors. I started the rest of the intake temperature, all that stuff. Yeah, stuff. Anyway, I ran out of wire loom, split loom for this side of the engine dressing. We've got a couple of extra wires now that we need to deal with for like the electric water pump. And two wires down here, I gotta loom those, that kind of thing. Grounds are all ran, connected, ground down to bare metal underneath them, like that one. So I've got a little list of stuff over there. I need to get some P-clamps, some wire looms, some more vacuum line. I got to clean off the AC lines, clean the brake lines. I need to get all the tensioners tomorrow and all the steering stuff so I can throw the steering rack in. I'm just about ready to bring this thing up and start doing bottom end stuff. Yeah, so we're in pretty good shape on Camaro. I pulled the valve cover off so I could start making a coil bracket rail, and I've got that all figured out. And so I'm going to bust out 2 of those first thing in the morning and throw the valve covers back on it. So I might leave the valve covers off. I want to prime the oil system, so, and it's got a whole big oil system to go in here yet, so we'll see on that one. Power steering idler, it's on there now, looking happy and pretty. Brackets are in, so I did the AC brackets. I painted both of those. I painted all the hardware, and then I've got the here's a new alternator. It's black, and then I have the AC bracket and alternator bracket up here. I tested out some paint today, and I don't like this red, so we're gonna make all this stuff black in the morning, and then that'll match our top end. All happy go lucky, and I can throw the air conditioner pump and oil in and the alternator and finish buttoning up wiring. I can get the coil pack rails taken apart and finish the wiring on those and get the coil packs and the rails and stuff all ran. And then I'll be down to one last line on the AC system, that bundle of mess out there after the AC pump. And then this bad mamma jamma right here, which I'm going to try to make live right there. So I need to source a different overflow reservoir, because that's where the overflow reservoir usually lives. So I'll source one of those. Those are cheap and easy. And then I got these heater hoses for the heater system, and I don't like that they're rubber on the end and then hard line and then rubber, so I'm going to see if I can get a replacement for those or just run silicone. They are hard line on purpose though, 1 because they're mounted to the frame, and 2 because the headers are really hot and it helps protect them for the headers. So we'll see what I do on that one. So there's where I am in Camaro land. This thing looks freaking gorgeous. So I just got a few more top end parts, and then we can start moving on to oil system. Yeah, the box is pretty empty. Oil system, carbon fiber hood, oil system, plug wires after the coil pack. So yeah, we're down to the nitty gritty, fellers. There's the oil cooler, alternator, harmonic balancer that'll go in afterwards. I got to torque this bolt to 230 foot-pounds. Oh, wish me luck. Filter for the pump, and then we'll be on to the underneath box, which is pretty slim pickings too. I got that one and this one, exhaust box, and front sway bars under there too. So anyway, there it is. 5 minutes on the Camaro. Appreciate you guys. Hoping you're digging. Check out your latest. Oh boy. Hold on, let me wipe you off there. There, is that better? Oh, that's a little better. Oh crap. Tomorrow's update video will be very extensive. Yes, it will. I've been chipping away real good, knocking stuff off the lists this week, and I have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. I started filming yesterday and I couldn't muster the energy to finish it. So yeah, we'll give you a small one. You saw my orange hash marks earlier. Rear end's done. It's torqued, ready to rock. I just need to tighten the jam nuts on the control arms and the Watts link, and we are good to go there. Ride height is pretty close, but I'm going to finish flaring quarter panels, make everything fit before I finish set the ride height, but I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. Front, I got the fenders back on today, and the wide body is most of the way done, and I'm really happy with that. We got the fenders off, and I had to do some trimming in here on the inners, and you guys will see pictures of everything. I had to do some trimming on the inner fenders, fold those under and tuck them, and then I built a standoff pad for that inner fender well, so that this fender actually is sitting on a pad and bringing this out. So these are composite front fenders, and I can do a little bit of flex work on them, so I'm moving them out a little bit, and then we got them all finished, secured in here, so they're kind of back on in place. And then I'm going to build a little bracket for down here to get this front of this fender to come out, and then I'm going to build a little bracket down here for this fender, and then we're going to make some air vents to get this air out of the inner fender. So that's where we are on that. I now have my mass airflow tube. I ended up with a 7-wire sensor and not the 5-wire sensor that I was supposed to have, so I got to return that one and get the right one. My jumper pigtail is the correct one, so that's in here, wired and ready to go now. I'm going to take this tube here, and it's going to get fabricated to the factory air box. And then I've got a big long air intake tube back here somewhere that we'll cut into pieces and get that secured on there. So there's the intake tube. Because we're running ABS, this brake system is from Core 3, and Core 3 made me all these lines, but it turns out that I'm gonna, let's see, these ones go down to the calipers themselves, and then I need one more of these lines, because instead of coming down to the axle and then Ying off and going to the left and going to the right, I actually need an individual to go individual to the right, individual to the left, so when the traction control tries to grab brakes and do its thing, it can control each wheel. So that's a lot different than most of the F-body guys run, so I'm going to get a hold of Core 3 and see if they can make me a matching brake line. I just need another one of those, and then I'll be able to finish all the brake line stuff. Brakes are on, backing plates are in, and the ABS sensors are in and worked. Oh, I'm so happy with that. Front ABS sensors are in, everything's good there. Front end's all torqued, ready to go. I just need to do the alignment and tie rod ends, and then put the cotter pins in the tie rod ends, paint mark those. Everything that can be torqued and marked is done. The front A-arms, the lowers, have not been paint marked. They are torqued, but they're going to have to take those loose to do all this alignment. So that's kind of where I'm leaving that. I'm still playing with ride height, but I want to get this as low as I can and have as much clearance as I can. So there's a lot of just little fitting and fiddling and that kind of thing. Oil system is most of the way in place. Wiring is most of the way done. I have my injector clips that I need. Got the rest of the stuff for up here, brakes and that kind of thing. We're going to finish up cooling system here shortly, and very, very quickly here in the next couple of days we should be down to exhaust and miscellaneous coil packs, cleaning stuff up, sensors, that kind of thing. So anyway, that's a brief rundown, and I will give you a long rundown tomorrow, so be ready for that. I hope you guys like me talking. I hope you guys like the information. This is how I do. So anyway, appreciate you guys. I was gonna have to wait till I get home and plug my phone into the computer before you guys can get it because I'm at 6 minutes. But everything's rocking out, hanging out, and we're doing good. So I'm feeling good about everything. And most of these tables will empty themselves here shortly. So thanks again so much for watching and sticking with me. There's my smiling face, a little scruffy, getting my winter beard going on. But anyway, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you, and we will talk to you, if not tomorrow. I'll get that up Monday morning or this weekend for you. So catch you later. Take care. Okay. Friday shop update on the beautiful Catfish Camaro. All right. Okay, so I told you guys on my Facebook video that today's update would be fairly extensive. So here we go. All right, let's work ourselves from the front to the back, shall we? Heater will turn off here in a minute. Don't worry about that. Okay, so we'll start front driver's side corner. We talked about oil cooling system. So there's our remote fillers. This is a Hamburger's Performance part. And then I had to make this bracket back here to secure to the back of it, and then allow me to secure it out here. There was no more room in the engine compartment anywhere. There was no more room in there for me to hang a double filament in the engine compartment, and it's going to work out a lot better because we'll be able to run this through. So we're going to come we're coming over from here. This is the oil filter adapter, so normally this is where the oil filter would sit, but we're going to run a cooler. So we're going to come out from the engine and we're going to go straight across, and we're going to come up here and we're going to go into the cooler, and we're going to come through the cooler, out of the cooler. We'll go into the thermostat, out of the thermostat, back down to the filler, out of the filler, filters, into the filters, out of the filters, then back down and around, and find a happy way to go back in to the inlet. So there's the oil cooling system mounted. We decided to go with mounting the oil cooler. We decided to go with mounting the oil cooler up here in the crash bar. Again, we were running out of real estate in the engine compartment to be able to hang some of that stuff, and we need airflow to all this. The other cool part about this is that in the factory bumper, which I've got over here, this is where the grill was. Now this isn't an SLP car. The reason we say SLP is because all of these SS cars and the Firebird Firehawks, the Trans Am basically, they went to another company. They came off the factory and then they went down the road about 1.5 miles to another company called SLP, and SLP took off a bunch of the factory stuff that was just regular Z28. and then they put on some extra bits of SLP stuff. So part of the SLP package is our functional hood scoop in the hood. And so that goes in conjunction with the air box, and the air box sucks right in here from this inlet right here. And then when you look down in here under the cooling system, and cooling system is ducted through the front bumper. So it splits this air and brings air up over the top of the car, and then brings air in through the bottom, and then sucks it up through the radiator, pulls it through the fans, and then dumps it back down on the ground to go back out the outside of the car. So we're trying to utilize as much of this factory aerodynamics and ducting as we can. And one thing that SLP did not do is they did not utilize the crash bar holes and the front grille holes. So you can see how, you can see right through there. Those sit right about there, which sits right about here in this bumper. So we went ahead and modified the crash bar, got the oil cooler in there, and then the other part is that it's going to be concealed under the factory bumper mount. So when we put this factory bumper mount on, if I can get it up in there for you guys, that thing sits under the grill. So when all said and done, if you see any of the oil cooling system, you'll see just a line coming in up here and then running back down to go to the engine. So the oil cooling system should be all concealed. It's ducted, it's vented properly, we got plenty of airflow, and then it's gonna pull this air and then push it right back down and out of the car with the rest of the air. So I'm happy with that on oil cooling system. I mentioned before, it's one of the last parts orders I'll need to do is just get my lines and my fittings, and now I've got everything kind of bolted in place and I can start measuring all that stuff out. So that'll be one of my last, probably the last order. I also got to get the AN line fittings for the power steering pump, and we'll talk about that. How about right now? So this is a factory Volvo electric power steering pump. So this was a trick I learned when we were building a race car here a couple of years ago, and it supplies plenty of hydraulic pressure, and it draws 65, maximum 80 amps, and it's all electric. So I was able to order this part with the wiring harnesses and the factory bracketry. So normally this piece of bracketry would be up underneath and kind of cradle that thing for the Volvo. I was actually able to pull it apart and utilize half of the factory cradle, and then it kind of I told you guys I wanted to get it in there. Well, it went in there and it was so dang close. I just had to take and modify a little bit of the bracketry on this side and a little bit of the bracketry over here, and I was literally able to just drill it and bolt this pump into place. And I was able to use the factory rubber bumpers for the mount isolators. So that should isolate all the vibration and noise in the engine compartment from running down the chassis. So you'll hear it running in the engine compartment, just a like a fuel pump, but you won't get the vibration in the chassis. So we've got to run our wiring still for the battery. That's the next one of the next things I'm going to tackle here. I got a lot of next things, but we're chipping we are chipping away very well on all of these short lists. And so I say I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I was able to accomplish a lot of this stuff that I'm going to talk about here in just a 3-4 day period, so we shouldn't be too long. So yeah, I've got to run the wiring down and around, and then the factory fittings will come down through the extra hole. They'll come down along here somewhere and go around in here, and then they've got to run over, and they're going to get plugged in right over here. So it'll run down in here with this stuff somehow, some way. So I'm going to measure those out, the fittings, the lines, and at the same time as the oil fittings and the oil lines, and I'll get all that stuff ordered from one place at one time, and we'll finalize all that. So All the dressings are now on the car. I spent a good little bit fighting these dressings. There's little differences. This is an LS1, and when you look up the parts, especially, you know, through the parts suppliers, Napa, AutoZone, O'Reilly's, they say they're all applicable for the year and make and model, but you'll come down and put them on, and we found just slight differences in every little piece that we went to put on. So like, for example, the idler wheel, it took me 3 days to track this one down. Nobody could find it, and I finally found it, got it here, pulled it out of the box, and I've got to save all my extra stuff. So I've got, there's the old pump, and I had the old tensioner down here. Well, the tensioner, when it come in, it has a washer and a little detent in that actual tensioner. Well, this one that came in didn't, and so I had to take the hardware and actually modify the hardware, and then dig the old bushing or the old washer out of the box and use the old washer and modify the hardware just to be able to bolt it on in place where it goes. You know, the starter, it's got a new starter in it now. The other one's over here. It was still functioning, but it needed some substantial cleanup work to make it match the rest of what we got going on over here. And by the time I paint that and clean it up, it was going to cost as much as a new starter, and at the same time, clean and painted doesn't mean it's new, so we'd still have a used starter in there. So I went ahead and got a starter for it, and then, you know, should be built in for this year, make and model, and it come in this tab was different than the factory tab. So then I dug the old hardware out and the new hardware, and some of them didn't work. One worked, one didn't. So then I had her run down and get the starter bolt kit. It's a doorman kit for this car, and she came back and it would fit through the bottom hole and fit into the block, but the top hole was too small for it. So then after all the fighting with hardware and starters and everything else, I ended up having to drill the housing of the starter in order to get this bolt to feed in there but be the correct length so that it doesn't walk around and need shims. So starter's in there. We've got some sensors that we need to delete. That's why you see some of these are hanging and marked. So we've got, this is our new electric water pump wiring. This is electric fan wiring. So I'm just gonna get some new pigtails and jumper this together and then tidy all this up, tie that up. That'll be out of the way. This is the oil pressure sender, or the level sensor, the factory level sensor. So it's got a dummy light for oil level. We're going to delete that in the computer. We've got our O2 wires hanging. So the rear O2s get deleted out of the computer, and then these will get bundled up and then dummy plugged in the end of them. And then the front O2 sensors are the ones we're going to use, and those bad mamma jammas are hanging. They're hanging out right up in here. And then we've got some extender wires that came with the headers, so we're going to extend this wiring down this direction, and the plug for the bung is right here. So then your O2 will sit right in here, so we need to run that extension wire, and I've got those over on the table. Factory air pump used to sit right here. Where's that air pump at? There's the air pump and all the extra old lines and all that junk. So that's the old air pump. We deleted all the lines and all that stuff, so we're going to delete the air pump out of the computer as well. So we'll have two O2 sensors, oil level sensor, and the air pump that all need to be deleted out of the computer when we tune it. So that's where we are there. We were not able to run the aftermarket oil dipstick just because of the location and how tight everything was, but we are able to get the factory dipstick right up in here. So we're going to run the factory dipstick, and then if we need to change the head on it, we'll change the head on it later. But right now we're just trying to do everything we can to get it put together, and then if there's little knickknacks that we want to go back later and address, we always can do that. Headers are in, but I have not installed the gaskets, and they're just kind of hanging loose right now on 2 bolts. I wanted to get the headers in so that I could put the steering shaft in, which is now in place. and then I get up on top and then slide those gaskets down in there. The header's got to go in from the bottom and the gasket's got to go in from the top, and I'm one man, so I got to figure out how to make all that jive happy for me. I'm trying not to say my kid called me out on it yesterday. Okay, so we did oil cooling system, we did wiring underneath, we did dressings, air conditioner is done. We got new dryer, new condenser, new pump, new lines, new seals, the whole 9 yards. We just didn't pull the interior dash box apart. So that's the factory unit in the dash. Everything else is new except for this line, not this one. There's one line up there on top that I could not source new, so I went ahead and cleaned it up and reused it, but it looks just as new as the rest of it. Water pump's ready to go. I need to throw a thermostat in the thermostat housing, and then we'll throw the belts on, and that's all good to go. Power steering delete is there and ready to rock, and most of my wiring's tucked up and tidied up. Brakes, lines, ABS sensors. So we went through and we got our brake lines hung. ABS sensors are ran in conjunction with it. And then I did, I tried to get all the details on this car right. So the ABS line runs in conjunction with the brake line. That's all fun and happy now. Same thing on the other side. So it's looking real pretty. And then speaking of brakes, we were able to accomplish the rears as well. So the backing plates are on. Backing plates were primo perfect. And the ABS sensors are installed. I lost my pointer. Where's my pointer go, guys? Backup pointer. Yes! Alright, so we did our custom backing plates here. We wanted the reluctor wheels so that we could run the ABS sensor. These are the 5/8 drill through studs. And then there's the 2nd gen CTSV calipers. Those are 4-pot and a 14.5-inch rotor with the ABS sensor. So I've just got to finish running the lines. So I just got to finish running the electrical and securing that. Because we're running ABS and traction control, I've got to take and maintain these 2 factory brake lines here. Normally it would come down to the axle, like this setup over here. It'd come down to the axle, and then this would be mounted to the axle, and then you would hard line out to the right and then hard line out to the left, and then these would come off the hard lines and go out to the individual calipers. So I have the caliper lines. I need one more of these so that I can come in here and hook up to this factory brakes, get rid of these rubber hoses. This is the last rubber hose in the whole line, a whole car. So we'll get rid of this rubber hose and replace individual, and then I'll run hard line this way, hard line that way, and then hook up my braided lines out here, and we'll be ready to bleed the system. I do want to pop, so this has just got some dummy hardware in it that I had laying around the shop. I'm gonna get some good hardware for it, and then I'm gonna pop the calipers off and put a coat of paint on those so those are red like these ones are. And then we'll be able to plumb it and bleed it and do all that fun happy stuff. So that's where we are on brake system. All the hard lines are in place. Everything's happy and pre-bent and ready to go. I posted a video earlier about the K-member. This K-member is the biggest hunk of crap I've ever had to work with from an aftermarket company. I've been over and over and over and all over this thing, but I got the brake lines re-bent. This one's coiled up right there. The problem is that normally it runs out here Normally it runs out here with the steering box with the rack and pinion. And what they did is they didn't put any instructions or any effort into telling us what to do with this brake line that runs out, supposed to run out here. Well, if you try to do what everybody probably tries to do and run it behind the tube, it don't fit. Yeah. So another brain hurt moment, but I got it in there and it's coiled up. The other side looks a little bit better than this side does. But it's in there, it's happy, it's tied behind it, and then I'm gonna take these tape off right here, and then I'm gonna put one more P-clamp right up here to hold this brake line once I pull this tape off of here, and then you won't see that red tape on there anymore. So, okay, that's brakes. Let's talk about suspension. So suspension on the front is pretty much dialed now. I didn't do string alignment, but we eyeball aligned it, so the steering is happy. I've got the ride height pretty much set now, and then I was checking my fitment at full lock between this corner and this corner. If you guys have been following this project since last year, you'll know that my big concern was right here and right back in here. And on the factory liner, we had rubbage going back here. Well, I've been kind of beating my head on the wall here these last few days trying to answer all the questions about this front end and these wheels and tires, and I really was very close to just calling the client and being like, dude, I know, but today I put it on the ground, we adjusted the alignment, got the steering stops happy, adjusted the wheel in the arch because it was way far back in the arch. I got that taken care of, and these are actually gonna freaking work, which is amazing. These are a 19 by 11 front wheel. The wheel is 19 by 11 and it's on the front of an F-body Camaro. So when it comes to that, we had to do a little playing. So here's my fender trim. So we nipped it and folded it under so this tire can tuck, and then we needed to bring this body out. And I was talking about that wide body yesterday, so I put this pad in here, and then I'm actually gonna put a piece of foam strip on it so it can sit on the foam. And that's what it got us. So now you can see up in there how much more room we've got. And then I'm gonna take this right here and I'm gonna take this edge off of the fenders all the way out to the outside surface. And then when this tire rolls in, it should roll up vertical and then just tuck right inside of there. And what I've been working on is trying to get the suspension to bottom out right at this level so that this isn't where we hit on the top of the tire. But I couldn't until I did this and that and this that I'll talk about in a minute, and then the alignment and the tires. I couldn't answer whether that was gonna work. And today, I'm happy to say that we're sending it. Yeah, okay. The last bracket, because I always forget to talk about things that I say I'm gonna talk about. This bracket right here, we need to build, basically bring this out, whoop, about like that. And I've got back here on my notepad, and I have my metal out to go ahead and start fabricating. So 2.5 inch by 4 3/8, inch and 3/8 spacing, 3 1/4 spacing. Make some 1/8 inch plate, make some little brackets, and that should finish off the wide body for the bumper area. And then right back here, I gotta fix this because everybody jacks up their F bodies by the point that says this is not a jack point. So I'll fix all this, and then we're gonna get this kind of a little bracket block kind of thing secured like this. And then in this gap, we're gonna run a fender vent so that this air and this turbulence inside this inner wheelhouse can come back and then exit. And hopefully we can get it to cling to the side of the body as it comes off the back of the body. So that's the plan there. This will come out, finish out that wide body. We'll add a strip of foam, give us another little maybe 1/4 of an inch, and then we'll get that secured like that, and we should be ready to rock at ride height for the race car. Ride height in the rear I'm pretty happy with. We bounce tested it, and we are got a rub action here like we talked about, so I'm gonna pop some spot welds, flare this thing out, fold this corner, and make these wheels all happy. Paint marks are done, which means this is all torqued and ready to go. Only thing left I got to do is the jam nuts on the Watts link, the jam nuts on the control arms, and then this axle is ready for full send. Driveline is cleaned up. I didn't have to paint it. It cleaned up really good, so we'll throw that in. The last nuts and bolts under here that I need to twist are just the cross member bolts, and then there's a tunnel brace that goes in under here, so we'll slide the driveline in. I need to replace this seal. It got torn. I have it on the table, so I'm gonna replace this seal, slide the driveline in, bolt it all up, get the transmission tunnel brace put in, bolt that tight. These are done, and then when it goes on the ground for the last time, I will adjust the pinion angle, lock the torque arm in. The torque arm is what adjusts the pinion angle, so we'll adjust the torque arm and lock it in. Driveline will be set and locked, and then we'll come back here and take a final look at our left to right on our wheels and tires, adjust the Watts link for the last time, lock the jam nuts, paint mark everything, and we're ready to button up brakes and walk away from the back of it. So really happy with how the back turned out. We did have to come in here and do some persuasion in the inner wheelhouses, and you can see how stinking close we are. I'm gonna give that one a little nudge. This one looks pretty good. I can get a good finger in that one, so I'm okay with that one. And we'll take care of those, and we'll be good to go on wheel and tire fitment. New battery. Told you it was gonna be a long one. You still there? You still in there? Okay. Top end. Heater hoses, heater hose clamps. This is the air intake tube for the mass airflow sensor. The LS1 mass airflow sensor does not read a wide enough spectrum, no matter what we do. So I had to go to an LS7 mass airflow sensor. And also at the same time, we put a 102 millimeter throttle body on this thing. And the factory air inlet, well, let's just say it's not 102 millimeters. So when you look through this one, when you look through that one, you can kind of see that would cause a restriction. So we're going to kill two birds with one stone. I'm going to put that sensor in there, the LS7 sensor in there, and then in order to keep this really cool, super cool factory air box intake, SLP, all that kind of stuff, we're going to secure that tube. I'm going to fabricate it to the front of the box and get rid of the small inlet, and then we can just go from this tube into the 102 millimeter throttle body. And then I got, of course I had to color match it, the red silicone and our clamps. And that'll take care of that. These are water pump inlet and outlet for the heater hoses. The fuel injector clips. We talked about this briefly. Okay. There we go. So we're gonna go from the old style square to the new style. When I've done these before, they actually made a jumper harness, but then somebody made a molded part, which is way more up my alley. So we'll just clip these onto the fuel injectors, and then the factory clips will clip right on there, and nobody will be none the wiser. There's our transmission seal. Put that in. And then this goes with the battery stuff. It's our external cutoff. So we'll do external cutoff, battery wiring, terminals, and the battery box and the lithium battery is already in the back of the car. So that's kind of the next goal once I answered this question and I finished up body fitment. So, exhaust. Exhaust is on. Well, the headers are on. And then I have a 3-inch dual kit to run out through here. So I've got the V-bands for it. We're gonna run 3-inch down the back. Then maybe somewhere in here, maybe we'll come together with an X pipe, and then we'll run it back and over the top. Where I'm really gonna have to just kind of work myself through is how the pipes are gonna come around the Watts link and come out the back here. Normally the factory run it up in here. So we'll probably run one up in there, maybe 2 of them, but you know, 3-inch, so it's big. Customer also talked about maybe doing some side exits. And then I would also, if we do an X pipe, side exits, and run it out the rear, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't do a push button flapper and then run it through the mufflers out the back and then push the button on the track and run it out the sides or on the track. So, kind of what I'm thinking. I got a few steps ahead of me before I get to exhaust. So, there's not a lot of stuff on the interior. I do have a front splitter to put on, but the bumper's already down on the ground, so we'll get the splitter installed before the bumper goes back on. Before I got this video up, I guess the last thing that I want to say to you guys is that you know, a project like this, you know, everything, pretty much everything that I've bought for this project is supposed to have been a bolt-on deal. It was supposed to be researched and developed for this platform, for this chassis. The F-body is one of those that's like the Hondas or the Jeep Cherokees. There's a massive, huge amount of aftermarket support for this chassis and this platform. And a lot of people have done these builds before. And by no means was I trying to reinvent the wheel on putting this car together. But I'm definitely finding out the hard way the struggles that a lot of the big custom builders run into. Pretty much nothing came out of the box and went on the way it was supposed to. We were missing hardware for pretty much everything. I've stopped 30 times to run to the hardware store to get nuts and bolts and, you know, fittings, and we need a lug nut today, we need a sensor tomorrow, we need a, well, we're out of rubber hose, and you know. So if nothing else, I guess what I'm saying here is that try to have the patience with your builder and with your parts suppliers and with you know, conceptually building something. You know, stuff like this, it for lack of a better term, it looks good on paper, kind of a deal. And to me, it looked excellent, stellar on paper. And then we start getting parts in and we start having to deal with other companies, and you know, there's probably 30 different companies worth of suppliers and different parts and that kind of thing on here. And when you start having to deal with all those guys, it really starts to put hurdles and hiccups into the game. And for a guy like me, you know, I do wear my heart on my sleeve, and I do share a lot more of the business and a lot more of the ins and outs than most people will, but also at the same time, I'm not giving you the half of it. And this has been a brain melting project for me. It's been a challenge mentally, physically, and also with my skill set. A lot of the stuff that I do, like painting the engine block and the heads and that kind of stuff, that's what I'm really good at. I can conceive that really well. But when we start talking about all this suspension stuff and everything kind of going together, until you start to kind of really wrap your mind around it, it's you know, like I said, it looks good on paper. You're like, man, everything should go together. It all works right. Just order it up and we'll put it together and we'll make it as easy as we can. Well, things don't go the way they're supposed to when you're building cars. I'll just say that. So, yeah. Anyway, I've been staring at my face. I'll let you start the car for a second. We're real close to being able to prime the oil system and throw the valve covers on. I've got the injector clips now, so I'm going to run down and get the oil and all that stuff here shortly. We'll set this thing back on the ground and finish the front fenders probably Monday, and then get rears rolled, so that way that's all happy. Finish locking all the suspension in. Then I'll be down to trimming the fenders, putting the fenders back on, buttoning up engine compartment stuff, and then moving on to exhaust and hopefully firing this thing. So anyway, I think that's the gist of it. I don't even know how long it was. It was probably 40 minutes. But there she is. So I'm gonna get the hell out of here. I'm gonna go have somewhat of a weekend, I hope. And if you guys see this weekend, I appreciate you guys staying in tune. If you see it on Monday, kick-ass week. You do what you do. I'm gonna do what I do. And then we'll see you later on during the week. So thank you again so much for watching. Really, thanks for being here, and thanks for all the support. Make sure to push those like buttons for me down there and hit that subscribe button. And peace. See you on the next one. Okay. Now what are we doing? Eating a chicken sandwich. Wide body is done in the rear. Tires fit. Now we're trying to bolt the rest of it together. The moral of the story is nobody, and I mean this, nobody runs this kind of tire and wheel on an F-body. Nobody runs a 12-volt Mosier with a Watts link and a coilover conversion. Nobody, and I mean it, runs their car lower than this car is going to run. The reason I say it is because it is freaking impossible. And not very many times in my career have I used the word impossible, but I'm going to use it on this one. This suspension bottoms out on the coils. It clears in here. It tucks in there. The driveline barely fits. And the girdle that was on the back of the 12 volt, it hits the fuel tank right there. You can't go lower, you can't go forward, you can't go backwards, you can't go down, and really, you can't go up either. Well, there it is. I'm gonna have to do away with the girdle. We're gonna have to run a standard pumpkin cover to get that thing to clear. I had to modify the torque arm just to get the axle centered in the first place. And then the torque arm hits on the tunnel still. The torque arm hits on the tunnel there still. And it hits that seatbelt bracket right there. The torque arm, when it cycles up, it hits that bar right there. It hits those bolts right there. You can't go any lower. So I'm in here eating chicken sandwiches and beating on metal with a sledgehammer and an air hammer and an air chisel and flaring fenders and fitting stuff. Oh, come hell or high water, this is going out the door with all this shit in there. But good luck finding me another F-body that's got all that in it. Because I did everything that I could do, and it is just, and when I say just, I'm talking like there's 15 or 20 items on this vehicle that are clearing by millimeters. Millimeters. So we're trying to get to exhaust. I think I'm about done with the suspension, but I'm trying to make everything clear so we don't get no clunks and bangs and that kind of thing. So about wrapped up, but that's kind of where we're at. Normally I would just yard this fuel tank out of here and put a fuel cell in it as far as we've gone. But I'm just trying to do everything I can to make it all happen now. Yeehaw. Here we go, boys. All right, where's our clipboard at here, Joshy? There's our clipboard. Oh boy. All right, what do we got on this here clipboard? Where are we at on Mr. Camaro? Okay, we still got to do mass airflow sensor and wiring and intake tube. So I have the correct LS7 mass airflow sensor now, and I finally got the wiring plug that actually plugs into the mass airflow sensor, and the mass airflow sensor fits in the hole. And then there's our wiring conversion. So I've got to D-pin this plug and then re-pin it with this plug and then put this in there. And then this will get trimmed down a little bit. We'll put one of these on there like that. And then this sucker right here is going to get glued and cut. Boom, right there. Okay, so that's what we got to do there. That's item one. We got a thermostat back here we need to throw in. That's easy. Thermostat. Okay. We need to finish the vapor purge. So I've got it over here with the bracket. And we've got our lines all ready to go. And this is all happy and it's going to live right in here. So this side plugs into one side and this side plugs into the other. And then we'll put our little bracket on and we're good to go. Valve cover still got to come off so we can prime it with oil, and we're waiting for fittings that should be here Friday. So that's going to be one of the last things. Belts, those are ready to go on. I've got those chilling on the table over here. Belts, those are ready to go on. I'm ready to put the headlights back in, and then I got a couple of ground straps up here that I need to run some groundies to, and then that'll be done up there. I need to wire this temp sender. So this is the temp sender for the oil cooling fan. I need to run a signal wire in from the cab to this relay, and then the relay is going to trigger all this stuff on. So I just got one more wire to run out of the cab. I need to put a couple of bolts in here. It's already drilled. I just got it zip tie mounted. I got two bolts to throw in the very back of the oil pan, and I've got those taped up here to remind me. As soon as the car goes up again, we'll throw those last 2 bolts in. We got a couple of vacuum lines here. I got to get a vacuum line adapter to go from here, and then this one's already there. So one more little adapter there. Power steering is wired, and there's the breaker for it down there. And then we just need to wire in our signal wire, which is going to be trigger wire from the relay over there. Let's see here. Oh, scratch that one off, Joshy. We got the hose clamp on the power steering line. So, yeah, power steering lines are all done in here. Go grab us our light, Josh. Power steering lines are all done. AN lines are fabricated and ran down all happy through there and through there, and when we get a light we'll show you more. So that's that, and let's see here. We got to throw plugs and wires in, but I don't want to put the plugs in until we spin this thing over and start pressurizing the oil system. So we'll spin the motor and pressurize the oil system at the same time, and we don't want the compression on the motor, so we'll leave the plugs off. Let's see here. Oh, there's some light on things. There's the breaker, there's our trigger wire, the rest of our power wires are all taken care of, so that's good and happy. What else do we got here? Rear brake lines. I've got those in the car. They do some weird funky like M12 1.0 with a 3/16 line and a bunch of weird stuff on there. We've got the undercoating all taken care of for the wide body. We've got the lines for ABS sensors. Those are all ran. Pumpkins cleaned up. Ready for the new cover. Rock on, bitchin', kick ass. Cool. All right. Let's see here. We got to order the diff cover. I was working on installing the steering wheel and fixing the steering column. Nobody likes to fix these. Roger, you're probably laughing at me because I did this on your Dodge. We had to pull the pivot pins is what this is called. So usually on these GM tilt columns there's 4 bolts that go in underneath the pivot, and those get loose, so you got to pull the pivot joint out and then get to the bolts underneath it. Well, this one, the bolts were tight. The pivot joint right here had wallowed out the steering column, so I had to take the pivot joints out and modify the pivot joints and then get it all put back together. That'll be taken care of, and then I can kind of build myself back out and get the new steering wheel and the hub put on. And being as I'm got the lower cover off and the steering column hanging, that'll be a good opportunity to run my trigger wire up through the firewall and finish off wiring. Yeah, we'll fix that later. Let's see, what else do we got going on here? We need to, oh, we already took care of that. We needed a sledge the rear wells one more time. That's done. Lock in the torque arm, put the shifter and the console together, finish the front wide body, install the fenders, install the splitter, headlights, tail lights, throw the bumper on, put the marker lights in. Interior is back together. Yeah, that's done too. Hey, you can't even tell there's a battery back here. So the battery's under there with the battery tray. It runs out this way. Let's see, from the battery, 250 amp breaker into the switch, out of the switch, back across and around to a 200 amp breaker, and then up to the front and connects power steering and all that good stuff. So interior's back together, seat belts are good, seats are in, and I'm just working on throwing the shifter and the bezel and the steering wheel on. That's all good to go. We popped the calipers off today, And calipers are ready to be reinstalled. The wheels are off, final shim's done, control arms are torqued, rear end's 100% other than twisting screws for the coilovers, and that's going to depend on how you want it to drive. So that's essentially all I got left on my list. I'm gonna need a bass tune file before I can start this, because it's, you know, gnarly and I'm not a tuner, so I need a bass tune file. It's gonna be ready to go to the suspension shop, the interior shop, the tuning shop, then it'll come back to my shop for body and paint.